taking my vote.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
Light the beam! Light it!
Did anybody catch the post-game coverage last night on TNT? Hopefully you didn't, or you caught it today because you were watching us, and thank you for doing that. But heck of a show, heck of a win for the Kings last night. Went back and rewatched it again. Definitely have some thoughts. Saw a couple things from past games build on each other, stacking up. Saw some advanced scouting that the Rockets definitely did. So the Kings will have to find a way to combat it. And look at what saved the Kings again. That 2-3 zone that nobody wants to run in the NBA. Now, granted, the Rockets towards the end of the game shot the ball well. Both teams, 42 points in the final period. It was the free throws for the Kings, the free throws that took them over the top. 13 of 13 in the final period. We break it all down, and I told you too, if you didn't watch the show last night or yesterday, you got homework. You had homework. Did you do your homework? Did you?
Pick a side!
On what is the best sports movie of all time? We're turning it into a March Madness of sports movies. We're going to come up with brackets. We're going to start taking suggestions for those today. The end of the show yesterday popped when we started doing that. So we'll be hitting that. Good job. You did it. You made it to the weekend. We're the only show today on the network. So let's wrap up the week in style. Welcome in to the King's Court on If You Don't Like That.
Grant and Ryan, break it down. It's Sacktown, we're the crown.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of
Williams, the D-Mark.
Fox. Goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that.
Court is in session. What's up, y'all? Ryan in Sacktown with you. Looking forward to having a fun show. It is open to you. It's Royal Rumble Friday, meaning anything goes. You want to come in here? Get in here. Lots to talk about, including the Kings back over 500. Keon Ellis's ankle. Is that going to be okay? Schedule sets up right for it. If you are going to have something like that, last night was a good time to have it. Seeing that you don't have a game until Sunday again, and then you don't play until Wednesday, and theoretically Sunday, you should be able to beat that team without... Anyways, not going to start going through the math formulas that are going to start popping up behind my head. We were talking about calculus last night on the post-game show. That was a kick. We are brought to you by Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland, located in the Blue Oaks Town Center. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. Brian texted me. He was at the game last night, and he's on his way home watching the pregame show. That is post-game show. Dedication right there. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for sponsoring today's show. Pick, roll, beam. It's as simple as that. Not quite, but offensively, what can you say? Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis put together a hell of a first half. Now, the Kings definitely had their deficiencies, things that they're going to have to clean up, but we'll get to those as the show goes along. I did watch the game again, so I've written down my thoughts. I'm interested to get your thoughts as well. As I said at the top too, stick around. We're going to be hitting this today as well. We're going to start putting together the bids, the nominations for our March Sports Movie Madness. We're going to have a 16 movie bracket, 2 of them, fiction, nonfiction. and we're going to put the votes to you all. Now, there's going to be a couple caveats because I want it to be fair. I don't want the votes to be tainted. And there is one group of individuals, one group of people that could easily taint this. So we'll get to it in a little bit. I'm sure you've got your favorites. We railed off probably about 20 or 30. And the rest of the night last night, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, what I should have said that one. What about this one? So I bet some of you were doing that as well. So we've got a full show. I bet that haunted horse character is going to drop in. Doug Christie gave probably one of the better quotes of the Beam Team era last night. We're going to listen to that. We've got audio from the TNT crew. We've got a full show. Happy to be with you. I debated, and Jack, I'm going to get ready to come to you. Thanks for calling already. But I debated whether or not I was going to do a Friday Rido. I have been debating it because something happened this morning. And it's not, especially with everything that's going on right now in the world, in LA and the wildfires, a good window opportunity for the firefighters to hopefully get an advantage on this thing. And so I don't want to be petty, but where I got caught up in this thing in my head was, is it actually a doe or is it on me? And so I'm going to share it with you really quick. So it hit the music, producer. So my son has been home from school for the last 5 days. He did not go to school this week because of his illness, whatever's going around. It's going around the classroom. His cough's just not quite there. And so he has been stuck indoors and just getting really restless and wanting to spend time with us. And my wife works full time. I'm working definitely at most times on content, on the team, whatever it may be. And so I wanted to do something special for him because we've been trying our best to make these little pockets of time where, you know, we're breaking it up for him throughout the day, trying to make it not as vanilla, trying to give him some spumoni throughout his afternoon. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get him a donut this morning, which is like, you say the word donut in this house, you better also say dessert because my wife sees donuts as dessert. And I'm not a big donut guy. Maybe that was my first problem considering a donut. Maybe the worst creation, the best worst creation of all time. Jim Rome talks about it all the time. Donuts are the law of diminishing returns. And what I mean by that is you get the first one and it's like, oh, this is really good. This is good, you know, and then you get to about the last 2 bites and it's like, oh man, should I have done that? But I can't stop. And then the box is still in front of you. It's like, I got to chase that with another and then maybe another. And before you know it, you are in donut purgatory. Your stomach's doing flips. Why did you start your day off like that? Your day's screwed, right? So anyways, I get to the donut shop this morning, full stall, full line of parking spots right in front of the shop. And I'm going to be a little bit of a Delta Bravo here. I drive what I consider a nice car. I am proud of my car. That doesn't mean that I'm showing it off and put it in people's faces, but I take good care of my car. So I parked my car. Maybe it was on me. Maybe I should have parked further away. Go into the donut shop, get the one sprinkled donut for my son. So proud of myself, patting myself on the back that I did not get myself a donut, and go to walk outside. And somebody has parked so close to me that I couldn't even consider. I couldn't even consider opening the door. Not the nicest car in the world. Definitely been in a couple accidents. Not judging. It's 4 wheels. Hey, it's better than nothing. But I can't get in my car. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. I guess I'm just going to sit here. I guess I'm going to wait. Well, it can't be that long. That guy's going to be in and out of the donut shop. No, this guy ends up getting like 3 or 4 boxes of donuts. And I'm standing outside the shop for like 5 or 10 minutes waiting for him to come back to his car. And I'm thinking, do I take a picture of this? Like, am I in the wrong for not going to get him and being like, hey, can you move your car? But to be fair, he was parked between the lines. He wasn't outside the lines. Wasn't a case where I was too far over towards one of the lines. And anyways, he finally comes out and he's like, "Oh man, these parking spots here, they are just these are the worst spots. Why do they do that to us?" And I'm thinking, my brother, my man, because he was on the end spot. So the driver's side, he had all the room in the world to get out. And I'm thinking, is that a dough on him for parking that close to somebody's car? Is it a non-issue? Is it something where I should have got him sooner so it didn't come across as passive aggressive? Or is it genuinely on the parking lot? Does the parking lot need to redo their spaces? What do you do in that situation? Like if you're pulling your rig up to the store, to the restaurant, and there's a spot that's right in front of the restaurant, but it's extremely tight, and you know there's no way the person next to you is getting in their car. Are you parking your rig there? But it was so funny. He saw nothing wrong with it except the parking lot needs bigger spots. So that was kind of my dough standing out in the 38-degree cold. And I'm watching so carefully on my car. I'm like, this dude better not hit it on the way out. So I wasn't sure. Is it a dough? Is it not a dough? So let me know. Help me out. I kind of, and I told you yesterday, I've got this group of friends where it's Seinfeldish, where we have these things happen and we overanalyze them. So and maybe I'm overanalyzing this. Let's bring my boy Jack into the conversation. We have got a lot to talk about today with the Kings. We've got a lot to talk about with movies. We've got guests rolling through. My man Jack, what's up, dude?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing great, man. Happy Friday.
I just wanted to ask you, did you see about the Kings and John Collins today?
I did. Yes.
Do you think that would be a good idea?
I really like John Collins a lot. I do think if you are trying to, I didn't see players. Did they report players, Jack?
I believe it was Trey Lyles and I want to say Kevin Herter.
Yeah, I would be all for it. Absolutely. Because it frees up a little bit of your guard line, your forward line. It puts Devin Carter into more minutes, and it's about as good of an upgrade at that front line that you can get that meshes with what the Kings do without giving up a significant piece. How about you?
Yeah, I think it was great. I mean, he's averaging 17.9. That would, we need something. I don't know if I think he'd probably be a starter, right?
No, he'd be coming off the bench.
He's coming off the bench, so that'd be huge for our bench. We'd have him and Devin Carter and Keon Ellis coming off the bench too, so that'd be really good for our bench. Yeah, I'm all for that as well.
The only problem is when you trade with Danny Ainge, you never win. So
yeah,
it's like, what else is going to be included? You know, there's probably going to be a draft pick here and there. His contract isn't too bad. I think the numbers are pretty darn close. Let me pull that up really quick while we're talking, see if it's even feasible money-wise. He's making 26.5 this year, 26.5 next year. So, yeah, it lines up perfectly, actually, because Kevin's 16, 17, Trey is 8. So you could get that done. I just don't know. Do you think that makes sense for Utah, Zach? Yeah.
I don't know, honestly. Utah is such a weird team this year. They have a lot of young players to build around. I think getting rid of John Collins and just going all in on that rebuild, I think, would make the most sense for them. So, yeah.
But then you just re-signed Lowry, you know?
Oh, yeah, Lowry Marketing. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing in Utah. I mean, it's clearly not working out. I'm not sure what's going to go down there.
Yeah, for sure. No, I have loved it. In fact, it's funny that you bring this up early in the show. Jerry and I have talked about John Collins for a really long time. That's like Jerry's number one outside of Portis, who he wanted a couple of years ago. So I think it would be a great fit.
Yeah, totally.
So thanks, dude. Appreciate the call. Thanks for
having
supporting.
me, Ryan.
Of course. Thanks, Jack. Jack is always up in the chat. I appreciate Jack starting. I called him Zach. I knew I did. Jack, my bad, dude. I said Zach instead of Jack. Come on, Rhino. Rhino, that's terrible.
That's terrible.
Do better, my man. No, definitely appreciate Jack. He knows his basketball. Jack, who was that? If you're still in the chat, who was that number 10 behind you in that picture? I'm just curious. Man, Jack's got a professional setup behind him. Look at Jack's setup compared to corn dog setup. It's not even close. I mean, would you rather be in Jack's setup or corn dog setup? Don't answer that. I think there's a number of you that would rather be in corn dog setup because he's got game controllers on towers. He's got old televisions. Oh my gosh. We'll go watch some. What's up, Rock? We'll go watch some highlights of John Collins after this. Dude, all you need to do for John Collins, go watch the highlights of the Kings and the Jazz the last 2 years. He has been a certified Kings killer. He gets into the paint so well. He's a threat from beyond the arc as well. He just does a little bit of everything. He's really improved his game. He was good in Atlanta, but he's flown under the radar to a degree in Utah because they've just not been playing well, and he can't get a consistent run because there's so many injuries there. And they've got a lot of picks coming up as well. So if they want to try to offload some talent, it makes sense. I like it. I like it a lot. There's a lot of other members of the media here in Sacramento that like that one as well. It was Peja. Okay, very cool. Awesome. Let's see. Let's get to the chat. What's up, y'all? How was that a foul on Sabonis? Are you talking about his sixth? You were looking at the wrong part of the play. You were looking at the ball if you didn't see the foul on Sabonis. Both of his hands came across. Was it Şengün? I don't remember who the player was, but both of his hands came across his chest. It was definitely a foul. So good job on Doug not challenging that. If you don't eat so many donuts, you could get into your car. My man, you couldn't have even got into the car, Horse. I'm telling you, you could not have opened the door to that car. Like, if you would have cracked the door open, Horse, you would have been hitting the other person's car. That's how tight it was. I almost took a picture of it so you would have a point of reference, but I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want that guy to think I was being, you know what? So people don't care. But he was nice about it. Like, he laughed it off. He's like, oh, well, I don't know why they do that with the parking spots. And that's what just confused me even more. I'm like, wait a minute, you're blaming it on the parking spots. So I get it's on the spots to a degree, but dude, if you know your car is going to be that close, like I wouldn't, even if I drove a beater, I wouldn't do that. That's just me. I think I need a donut now. Dude, don't do it. Don't do it, Rock. Progressive, such a great win last night. My only concern was when Sabonis went to the bench. That game went to overtime. Kings would have been in trouble. Major trouble if that game went to overtime. There were two good things about the end of the game and the clock management for the Kings. The free throws were the first thing. The second thing was how they broke that full court trap with about 20 seconds left where they ran some time down. Those were the only two good things about that ending stretch. And it kicked off with a De'Aaron Fox ill-advised 11 to 10 seconds on the shot clock. You are up 4 points. You milk that shot clock down to basically zero. You get a good look, and it was a terrible look. He took on two guys at the rim. It gets blocked. The Rockets leak out, get a three. But the free throws, hey, I can't complain about that. 13 for 13 in the final stanza. Great job. Great job. I'm a Rhinomite. Interesting. I wouldn't announce that publicly, Rock. It might not be very popular. Derek, what's up, dude? Good to see defense a topic with the Kings. I completely agree. We've talked heavily about this zone defense, and last night you saw. I think I talked about it after the Chicago game. If I'm Doug Christie, I am taking that team in the gym and I am coming up with different variations of that zone. And you saw multiple variations of that zone defense tonight. I thought it was a perfect way to stop the bleeding because the Rockets did exactly in the second half what Milwaukee did to the Kings. Not saying they saw the film, but if you told me they saw the film, I would believe it because they started spreading the Kings out. They started going to a higher pick and roll, meaning closer to the half court line, which then it basically enabled both, and they were using the screens. Şengün was hitting some good screens. Keon got caught up a couple times, but not only was it opening up Jalen Green and others to get to the middle of the court, but Şengün coming down was almost, with the way he was rolling, setting a shell screen, basically setting a lane, setting a running hole for the guy with the ball, and it was nearly impossible for the Kings to figure out, and that's why they went to the zone, which ended up being very effective. Although, again, you gave up 42 in the final stanza. Bottom line is you win that game on national TV. That was a big win. It was a huge win for this team. And now it gives you the luxury of not having to press with Keon Ellis. And apparently after the game, he was all smiles in the locker room. But the big thing, again, you don't have to press to get him back against Washington. If you lose that game to Houston, then it's like, you've got to win Washington. You absolutely have to. Alex, what's up, dude?
What's going on right now? How you doing?
Good. How you doing, brother?
Good, good. So yeah, big win last night, but I, have been checking out the John Collins stuff. Maybe I'm in the minority. I do like him. I just don't like including Trey in it. And I know he's expiring and that's why they want to do it. But to me, it's not a lateral move, obviously. John Collins is a lot more athletic than Trey Lyles. But it doesn't make us bigger. It just kind of, because they're about the same size, even though Trey's not nearly as athletic or can shoot as good as Collins. But I'd like to keep them both to at least, Trey could be like a maybe 8 to 10 minute player if we have Collins, just to add a little bit of extra height. I don't know. Is there a way we can get Collins without including Lyles, or he's just the contemporary piece because of the expiring contract?
It's not the contemporary piece. He's a good player to plug in there for Utah. He would look well or play well probably with Lowry, and that expiring contract. That's what Utah is going to want too. It also then gives them the ability to re-sign Trey without it going against their cap, because he would be their own free agent.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking that too, but what's Colby Jones' contract like? Is that
Utah doesn't want Colby Jones?
Alex, I would try. I would still try, dude. I would still try.
Brother, I get it, but you've got to give something up to get something back. We can't just sit here and give up the pieces we don't want for a piece that's better than them. It doesn't usually work that way. And actually, if you want to make it seamless, I would say out of the guys you're looking at, or people that have been reported, whether it's a Kyle Kuzma, John Collins is probably the most seamless transition out of Trey Lyles if you're looking for somebody that can kind of play that exact same style. Now, I think Trey's a little more scrappier than John Collins. I think Trey is a little bit better defensively, especially on the defensive boards, but offensively, you're getting a major upgrade with John Collins.
See, and even saying that, because our defense is lacking in the size and stuff, that's what kind of gives me hesitant giving up Trey, because even though, he's expiring, who's to say he wouldn't sign again? It's not like he signed a big deal over here, and I know he likes in Sacramento. So I don't know. I'm not really ready to give up on Trey as much as I am giving up on Herter. Obviously, everybody else is. But he's like on a 2-8 year or 2-8 or 2-16. I don't remember what he's on, but I know it's not a big deal, right?
He is making 16.8 this year, 17.9 next year.
I see. Okay. Well, I guess I was talking. I have a group chat that we constantly send stuff to each other like that, and I do like Collins. Like I said, I'm just hesitant because of the size thing. What I do like, because I know they were asking, or the reported thing for Valanciunas is 2 second-round picks or whatever, and I don't even think we have that. I think we only have one the next, I don't know how many years. But with that being said, would you rather do that trade for Collins, which probably requires a first-round pick because it is Danny Ainge, so Herter, Lyles, a first-round pick, or, and this is a gamble, but I think I would do it, Kuzma, Valanciunas for the same trade, Lyles, Herter, and a first round pick?
Well, if you're throwing in a first round pick, that probably means you got to get something back from Utah. You're not just going to throw in a first round pick for John Collins. I don't think it wouldn't be even. I don't know. I personally, the ship sailed for me on Kuzma. I just don't think it's there. I don't think he meshes physically. I think it's another offensive piece that just I think it's a lateral step with Kyle Kuzma at this point. That's my take on it. Valanciunas, I like him, but I don't like him enough to pass up on John Collins. With Jerry Reynolds, and Collins was, again, kind of that guy that I circled. In fact, Jerry was doing a hit on 1140. I had no idea he was on with them at the same time we were on, and we said the exact same thing about John Collins. And if Jerry is saying that, I'm going that all the way. Jerry
Ryan,
knows his hoops.
I'll argue with you all day, but I'll never argue with Jerry. So
right, you can't. You can't. Like, if you saw like the text messages this season with Jerry, like during games, it's incredible. Anyways, yeah, he's freaking one of one. He knows his shit.
He's a beast.
He's a freaking
I
beast.
think what it is, dude, is I'm just we've been lacking size for so many years that even the thought of, dang, can Christie dial into Kuzma? He's big and long and athletic. Valanciunas is a big. He can help out Sabonis. Just the size aspect gets me excited, but it is a chance because yesterday Kuzma played the whole game and had 5 points. That's crazy.
Okay, so this is why that zone element is so important to this.
Yeah.
In the fact that we have seen it beat 2 teams now in the last 4 games. You don't have to be big if you're going to be mixing in a very effective zone. And Doug Christie's already said he wants teams to have to adjust to them. So you might be smaller, but that doesn't mean you're a lot more faster. You're a lot more athletic at times. I mean, actually, I take athletic out of it. That was the wrong word. What happened last night, the way the Kings combated the Rockets' athletic ability was fundamentals. And that's how you will continue to combat athletic ability against some of the other problem teams, New Orleans, OKC to a degree, with Sabonis, fundamental as hell. Malik Monk, pretty fundamental. Keegan Murray, very fundamental. John Collins, very fundamental. I just like the way, if you're going to continue to do what you're doing now without trying to adjust to size, John Collins is the guy for me.
Okay, so that being said, let's say that it happens. I mean, you don't think we have to look for a backup center? Like, it can't just be Collins, right? Because I get what you're saying, but I think we're still too small. I mean, I guess that's why I'm so fixated on that Kuzma Valanciunas, hoping it would work.
Here's the bottom line. This isn't so I think we have to, as Kings fans, zoom out for a second and realize there's not a piece out there right now that's taking us over the top to a championship.
Yeah.
Share. That the size is something you could address or make one of your top priorities this offseason. But what are you going to do now to keep pace with the West, or maybe put a step forward where you can make it into a 7-game playoff series? You can win a playoff series. I think that's the focus. There's not, short of a Kevin Durant, a LeBron, something along those lines, it's not going to happen. So this is still going to be a work in progress. So take the next step. You've got to do something.
So, okay, what if, because we added that first round pick, because I look at the Wizards, their team, they have a decent team. I'm kind of surprised they're doing so bad. They have Brogdon, who, a little past his prime maybe, but still a good wing. And then they have the other guy who used to be on the Detroit Pistons. Pretty athletic, big, long dude. He's a forward. I forget his name. I don't know why I'm blanking so much on him, but he's on the Pistons and now he's on the Wizards. And it's killing me that I can't remember his name, but they have a couple of good forwards that I wouldn't mind having on this team.
Are you talking about Drummond?
No. Drummond's on the Sixers, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I don't follow the Wizards too closely.
Yeah, no. Well, I've just been curious about.
I know Jordan Poole, Kuz.
Yeah. Man, I'll have to put it in the chat. I forget his name, but they have a couple of decent forwards that. I'm obsessed with the size thing. I think I just can't get past our size sometimes when there's a lot of teams that just go right past us and dunk really easy because we're so, it just drives me crazy, man. Oh, not Bagley. Not
Light
Bagley.
the beam! Light it!
Yeah,
Well done, Progressive.
yeah,
All right. I hear you, Alex. Point taken. Thanks for the call, brother. Appreciate you.
yeah, for sure, man. Have a good one. Have a good weekend. Go check out UFC 311 tomorrow, dude. I know you're still not big on the UFC, but it's gonna be a good one.
No, it's not that I'm not big on it. I just don't want to pay $75 for every fight, man.
Yeah, I hear that too. I can't help it, man. But
I know. I hear you.
All right.
I hear you. All right, brother. Thank you. Alex picking us up. We've got a ton of phone calls lined up. Still a lot to talk about. Still a lot to hear. In fact, really quick, Reed, coming to you in a second. Check out what Doug Christie said after the game. I think this is actually in a nutshell why Doug Christie works in Sacramento, especially with this fan base, why he is so wildly popular. Probably also why he's so wildly popular to a degree with this owner, because you have to acknowledge that Doug Christie was not hired by Mike Brown. Doug Christie was not hired by Luke Walton. That was a hey, we want Doug on the staff kind of thing. So whether this was something that was ultimately going to happen at some point, who knows? But you can't deny what Doug Christie can sell to this fan base. It's nostalgia.
Arco Arena had its own. There was wood and metal and concrete, and when you start bouncing all that together, it makes strange sounds. And this building is beginning to define itself. Golden One Center is part of my message to them is like, nobody comes in your house messing with your stuff. You must protect your house. And to watch the way that they continuously fight possession after possession after possession. And I know from being somebody who played in front of these people that they truly, truly appreciate when you open your coat and you say, this is me, baby. I'm here and this is what I'm going to do. So for me, like, that's like a super huge thing, is like when you come to SAC, we're getting down. And I love what the guys are bringing.
I'm sorry. Not the best analogy there at the end. Like, the only person on this stream that participates on this show that would open their court and say, or open their robe and say, I'm here, baby, this is who I am, is Haunted Horse. Doug. Come on, Doug.
In front of these people that they truly, truly appreciate when you open your coat and you say, this is me, baby. I'm here and this is what I'm going to do.
Good job by Doug Christie. But no, a lot of good stuff there. And I had somebody hit me up. They're like, did you hear him say possession after possession after possession? Is that a shot at Mike Brown? No, it's not a shot at Mike Brown. Oh my gosh. Okay, getting back to the calls. Reed, what's up, man?
Hey, Ryan.
What's up, Reed?
You're looking so cute.
Get out of here, Reed. Okay, so when we talked about the movie thing, that group of people that I was worried about tainting our votes when it comes to the brackets is that group of people, the clones. The clones will rear their ugly ass head around here once in a while. There's no doubt about it. And they will definitely probably participate in the movies as well. Speaking of movies, this guy was in some of them, and I don't mind actually kind of starting this movie conversation with him. What's up, Haunted Horse?
What's up?
What's up,
How's
dude?
it going?
Good,
By the
how
way,
are you?
I was in one movie. I hung around the sets, but I was in one.
What do you mean you hung
Briefly.
around the sets?
Well, I would go watch the other ones being filmed, and there was a lot of action going on. But I was actually paid by one production.
Did you like frame the check?
You know what? Anyway, this is a long story. No one cares, trust me. But I'm trying to find, I hope they didn't get thrown out. I'm trying to find my 4 Caps receipts. The Caps is the name of the casting company. And I have been looking everywhere. I think they're probably pressed in a book somewhere. Anyway, but the check, I don't know where the check is. This is back in the day before cell phones and pictures. You had to like take a camera and take a picture of something. And I never thought of it or copied it. Anyway.
Caps receipts. Interesting.
Yeah, that was the name of the company. It was C period A period P period S period something casting whatever.
All right.
That's a whole nother story too. How I got on there. I basically lied my way on the set. Anyway,
Were you listed in the credits?
No credits. Extra work only. Extra work only. I got to anyway. No, trust me, no one cares. If you guys care, we can talk off. It was fun. I was driving my car in some of the scenes. I had the director on the walkie-talkie telling me when to go. It was cool. Best 4 days ever. I'm not gonna lie. That was so much fun.
Did you have your own trailer? Did it say
No
Haunted
trailer.
Horse?
But
No.
I did see Wesley Snipes' trailer. He had a full workout, Nautilus and everything, and he would work out before his scenes, get all freaking jacked up.
Nice. So
wait, actually, real quick, we closed down because I forgot this is the show in Sacramento, so you guys would know the reference. We shut down a third of the Bay Bridge, the tolling area, to shoot for an entire day. 12 hours it was shut down. And we ate lunch on the Bay Bridge. Best view ever. It was amazing. So,
yeah, you were with like De Niro's body double or something.
Yeah, but yeah, he was the one driving the van. Either I was in front of the van in my car or behind the van. Yeah.
Very cool.
Looked just like him, dude.
Very cool.
Anyway,
Sick, man. All right.
Yeah.
So really quick, dude, why'd you come at Rudy so hard yesterday?
Oh, I just think if you've ever heard Joe Montana asked about that movie, he gets the giggles. Joe Montana is very stoic. He's very professional. But whenever someone asks him about, because he was on the team when Rudy was on the team.
Joe Montana wears Skechers. I can't take somebody serious to wear Skechers.
Real cool customer, cool Joe. But whenever I've heard him ask the story, they go, so Rudy, you were on the team with Rudy. What was that like? And he always does the same thing. He's like, I mean, what do you want me to say? And he starts cracking up. He's like, it is nothing like the movie. None of that happened.
Okay, no, okay. So some of that definitely happened, by the way.
I mean, there is a guy named Rudy. And he was around the football team.
On. He was a practice player.
But yeah, anyway.
The part about them laying their jerseys across the desk, that was a little bit dramatized.
I was going to say, that did not happen.
So I get that, but
anyway,
the nuts and the bolts of the story are there.
The question, it's simply because of Joe Montana, who is my favorite football player ever. His reaction anytime he's asked about the question, he gets like a high schooler. He just starts to lose it. He doesn't know what to say. He's like, he just thinks it's hilarious.
Go see a porno.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's what Joe says.
Let's go see a porno. Yeah, so those movies don't count on my film credits.
Yeah. So really quick, you brought this up. You texted me after the show. The Natural, this came up a few times. So dial us in really quick.
That is an amazing movie. So you have not seen it. I will not spoil it, but what I like about it are the themes in the movie, and the themes in the movie. It's I believe the team is called the Knights, New York Knights. I forget the city, but the Knights, and it takes place somewhere around 1915 to 1924, somewhere in there, and it closely resembles what happened to the Black Sox. You've got morality at play. You've got a kind of an evil side of the team, and you've got a good light side of the team. And this guy's being tempted by both sides. It's just the themes of it I really enjoy. It's not necessarily just a sports movie. It's kind of a good versus bad movie. And it's so well done. I like how it's shot. I like the period that it was shot in, the 20s, the teens. Just, how important baseball was back then. I mean, that was it. They had
Baseball
the other
was the big
sports,
show
but
in
that
town.
was
Yep.
it. National pastime. Everybody looked at the box scores every day. Everybody listened to the radio and heard the games. And there's of course all through history the famous calls like Giants win the pennant. It's just
Okay.
it's just a really magical movie for me anyway. And I like everything about it. I watch it once a year, easy.
All right. All right.
So that's my favorite sports movie. New York Knights. Thank you, Progressive.
The New York Knights. All right. So I'm guessing The Natural needs to be part of the conversation.
Oh
in
yeah,
the
it's gonna be.
nonfiction.
It'll be seated up near the top if I have anything to do with it. Also, you said 32 teams.
No, 6. We're gonna do 16 nonfiction, and we're gonna do 16 fiction. So we're gonna have 2 different brackets.
I honestly think if you were to ask me, you need to expand it to 64. I can't imagine trying to part down to 30. Have a comedy section, 16 comedy movies, because there's Slapshot, there's Major League, there's I'll help you.
Okay, that's why we need to get down to the best ones. We need to debate it, and then we can seed them. I just a 6. Think about all the. I know,
That's
but
fair
you
enough.
got to get down to the best 16, and
This is your deal.
I don't want to tire out the audience. That is a lot of voting. That's a lot of voting. Disagree?
I disagree. I disagree.
You think it should be 164 field tournament with fiction and nonfiction mixed?
And then like a comedy and maybe something else. Yeah.
All right, y'all weigh in on this. We're gonna get back to the Kings here in a few minutes, but yes, weigh in on this. Do you?
Oh, am I getting haters yet? Because I love when I come on here and then they say, "Get this guy off. He talks too much. I want to talk about the Kings."
No,
I love that.
No, I'm just reminding everybody that it's a full day. I don't know, man.
I tell my wife I've turned into the WWE heel.
Okay, you are kind of the WWE heel. Well, yeah, Progressive, that's what we would do. We would do. So you think we should just do one field 32 movies? All right, keep your votes coming. We're doing this. We just have to get the movie and we also have to define what's a sports movie, right? We've got to. For me, I think Happy Gilmore qualifies as a sports movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody disagree? It's centered around golf, right? So,
I think where you get into the weird ones are, I'm trying to think I can't think of one that would be controversial. All I am saying is I could think of 64 movies that deserve to be, and we would still be leaving movies off. I'm looking at your poster, Bad News Bears, not the new Billy Bob Thornton one, but Bad News Bears with Walter Matthau and Tatum O'Neal. When I saw that in the 70s, that was freaking amazing. Now I haven't seen your Little Giants yet, but I'm going to see it because
you've never seen Little Giants.
I haven't seen The Sandlot either. So there's a lot of those kiddier movies when I was in my 20s and I wasn't really looking at those movies anymore that came out in the 90s. But The Sandlot, I've always heard people say how great that is. But the Bad News Bears in the 70s, and I played Little League. So, I mean, it was so amazing. And it just was so realistic is what's funny. The coach drinking beer all the time and everything. I mean, that was the 70s, dude. Yeah, the coach would drink beer.
Okay, so this is playing. See, now this is where I said we have to set boundaries. Progressive thinks that golf movies don't count. I couldn't disagree more. They do. Absolutely.
My suggestion there yesterday, which I would imagine most of your audience has not seen it because it kind of slid under the radar. The Greatest Game Ever Played. It's a golf movie with Shia LaBeouf, whatever his name is. That was an amazing movie. I caught that just channel surfing and I got hooked into that. That's an amazing one. And that's one of those based on it was the US Open. It's an older movies late 1800s, early 1900s, something like that. And it was an amateur that made it to the US Open because anybody can get into the US Open if you make a qualifier. That's what the beauty of it. And then Tin Cup. So I can name 6 golf movies that are amazing.
I
So
agree.
we
Happy
didn't have golf.
Gilmore.
That would
Yeah.
kind of stink. There's horse racing movies. Is that a sport? Like
Yep.
Seabiscuit.
I hear you. I hear you. Ryan, who's this guy?
Right. Who the hell is this?
He's going to be participating in the bracket challenge. He also picks NFL games against my 10-year-old son.
I do.
And a very good
I got
friend
my
of
bets,
the show.
My bet's ready to go.
There you go. You want to give one of them really quick?
Well, I'm just going to bet a 4-game parlay this weekend. I'm going to take Texans plus 8.5, Commanders plus 9.5. So I don't think those teams are going to win, but I think those point spreads are just so far. I'll take the points, and then Rams plus 6.5. And the only favorite I'm taking is Ravens minus 1.5 over the Bills.
All right, there
So I'm
it
going to
is.
parlay those 4 games in a single parlay.
There it is. All right, dude. Tell everybody what you got going later.
I got Hunt Horse Show 5 p.m. Pacific, but that's it. Nothing to promote. How late your show's going? That's why
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, anyway.
We'll see.
Anyway.
All right, dude. Well, have a great weekend.
My
Thanks for coming in.
weekend kickoff. Yeah.
Appreciate
I'll
you.
let you guys get back to the Kings.
The Kings,
Hey,
it
good,
is.
by the way, good job. Good winning streak. I mean, I'm a Portland Trailblazers fan. I have nothing to cheer about other than a lottery pick. So
Hey, Scoot Henderson had 39 the other night. It was pretty efficient.
Yeah, he went off. I got to start looking at who the big players are going to be in the draft this year. Is it a deep draft, or do you know yet? Have you even thought about it?
It's top heavy, and it's kind of unknown right now.
So all talents at near the top.
Cooper Flag's the big one that everybody's going to be shooting for.
All right,
So, yeah.
all right, and he plays for
Duke.
Sorry, Jungle Threads.
Dukies.
All right,
Yep. All right, dude. Be well.
later,
Have a great
everybody. Have a
weekend.
good weekend.
The Haunted Horse, the movie kind of star here, checking us out on the show. A lot of Kings still have to talk about. I know I've got some Kings questions from all of you that I will hit regarding the zone. Call Chris. What's up, dude?
What up, man? How you doing?
Good. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Just got off work on my way home. You all were talking about some good sports movies. I just wanted to share one of my favorites.
Yeah, please do.
It's called man, I can't remember. It's called Ryan Fucks My Ass.
Yeah. See, there's the clone. See, you see how I have my finger right on the trigger? There's so many signs. Like, these people think they're going to get over. They don't put themselves on camera. They've got it pointing the opposite direction. We've had people that have literally put GIFs up of other people. They point their phones at GIFs. So what you don't know is at any given time, I could be watching all of you that are waiting on hold if you are on camera. I can see what you are doing. It is not a secret. So when I see you setting up your GIFs and yada, 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 it's pretty obvious. It's all right. It's fun. I get it. I'm a part of the clone lifestyle. So all good. Just do me a favor. This is Grant Napier's channel. You know, it's not lost on me that I get to have a daily show on Napes' channel. Have some respect for him and what he does. Look, it's funny to a point, but don't go past that point. That's a little bit past the point. First caller, kind of funny. That little bit too far. So anyways, we still got a lot of Kings to talk about. We've got a lot of audio as well. I'm sure Adam's going to be dropping by here in a little bit. The TNT crew last night, really interesting debate. And I'm sorry that we're going to keep backing it up to this a little bit, but it's the first time the Kings have been on national television, which means they haven't really talked a lot about Mike Brown. Maybe he got mentioned here, mentioned there in the headlines, but they had an interesting take on the entire thing. And Charles, in particular, was pointing what happened in a certain direction. To be fair, it's not just a Kings thing. He has done this with past firings, but here was TNT last night.
I think Doug Christie, he was there, obviously, in the locker room. You know, Mike Brown was complaining about how the guys don't listen. So, obviously, he kind of lost the locker room. So, I think Doug has done a great job of not repeating that, letting the guys go out. And like I said, they're playing with a lot more energy, and they look pretty good.
Yeah, and we just disagree because, the players never take responsibility for getting coaches fired. You saw the same thing with the Lakers. You see the same thing with the Suns. Players have to play. Mike Brown won Coach of the Year a couple years ago. He didn't start sucking as a coach. That team, they got DeMar DeRozan and regressing. Like a couple years ago when they took the Warriors to 7 games, we're like, man, this team got a really, really bright future. And they have regressed. And it's easy to blame coaches, but players take zero responsibilities, and that really pisses me off.
Well, again, I think you both have valid points.
Pick a side. Don't be scared of Shaq.
That's going to be an all-timer. Pick a side.
First of all, you both have valid points.
Where does that come from?
I don't know.
Don't be scared of Shaq.
Yeah, you both have valid points. But it also comes down to a situation where you look at players, sometimes an assistant coach has a different ear to players. And being an assistant coach, he's able to say certain things while he's an assistant. Now, it's a big difference when you move 6 feet over to actually say those same things. But he might have had a belief in a couple of other guys who may have been struggling or not playing well, that now they go, oh, he's the coach. He believes in me. Now, can you play well for Mike Brown, who's been the coach of the year? Hell yeah. Like, there's no reason you should not be able to play well for him. But you have to factor in human nature of what Shaq is saying. That the human nature of it is there is a switch that sometimes players turn on and off.
So that was the first part of it. Pretty interesting from the crew. I think that there's some valid points on both sides. Gives you a little bit of inside basketball. The assistant coaches definitely think about your office. If you have an assistant manager that's in between the owner or the big boss manager, whatever it may be, you might go to them. You might have your performance review with them. You might be checking in with them on a weekly basis. You might be a little more candid with them. And then that coach is able to dress it up and present it to the staff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Look, it was a little bit of a mixture of both. And we're going to hear a little bit more from them in a second. I want to answer a couple of the questions, though, about Keon. So any updates on Keon? The only thing that I heard is he was moving around pretty good after the game, not on crutches or anything like that. Treatment, definitely up until Washington. And there was a big emphasis. Doug said it in the post-game press conference. That adrenaline, obviously, once that wears off, you sleep on it. For instance, De'Aaron could not sleep the night of the fall against Memphis. He was that uncomfortable. So we'll kind of touch and go, wait and see. Everybody's body's different. Remember, Devin Carter recovered in 5 months from something that he was only going to be reevaluated for in 6. So that makes a big difference. And then here's the other thing, the win last night. I think that's what I point to the most. You don't win that game last night, you are probably putting a little bit more pressure on Keon Ellis to get back sooner, because you can't lose to Washington. Now, that being said, you can't lose to Washington, but I think that it's a little bit more manageable knowing that you've got that first one under your belt if you're the Kings. And it's good just in that you run off 7 in a row, you get smoked on the road, then you come back. 1 day rest. Grant, Jerry talked about it. Only having 1 day of rest coming back from the East Coast, that is not an easy thing to do for these guys. And I thought they came out relatively well. So I would expect the Kings to take a cautious approach with Keon. But we'll see. We'll learn more when they get back into the facility tomorrow. You remember, Doug is not really coaching them or practicing them as hard as Mike Brown was. They were getting about 1 day off a week under Mike Brown. So take that for what it is. We talked about it on the Kings Roundtable. If you want to learn more about where that comes from, a little bit from the Adelman tree, what Doug experienced as a player here in town. Derek, good question. The pros and cons of running a There was your WD-40. You know what I'm gonna get? I'm gonna get a sound drop of an aerosol can going psh. That way, when you hear it, we can acknowledge it all and keep moving. But anyways, getting back to the pros and cons in the zone defense, it's a great way if you are not being able to handle penetration, if you're having issues with another team's size, physicality, etc., or if they are just killing you inside the paint. Let's just say they're just eating up the mid-range and they're not that great of a three-point shooting team, then you shoot them out to the zone. Now, you'll see a lot of NBA teams that run a zone infrequently throughout a game, and there's a few that will actually rely on the zone, and we saw the Heat do that very well. The pros of running the zone is it's taking a little bit more time off the clock, especially if you're mixing it into the man coverage, and you're making teams basically beat you from beyond the three-point line. And there's a thought as well, you're not getting the guys, the other team, the same looks in the same motions that they were getting when you're in man defense. They're not running off picks. They're basically standing around the perimeter and teams swing the ball around. So that's one of the insights on it. There's also a pro that you can run different traps out of it. You can give different looks, and that's up to each team and the coaching staff, depending on their personnel and what they feel comfortable doing. The cons, it's really easy to break down if you get the ball to the middle of the zone. If you get the ball to the middle of the zone, then that's kind of the soft spot, because if you're running a traditional 2-3 zone, you've got 3 down low, 2 up top. That makes that bottom line have to make a decision. Is there going to be somebody that steps up, and now you've got one guy guarding 2 in the short corners? And then the other con is the weak side rebounding. If you have the ball swung and somebody takes a shot from one side of the floor, most of the zone is going to be on that side of the floor, meaning the other side of the floor can come down and crash the board. So it's a longer range that you have to cover to try to box somebody out. So those, in short, are the pros and the cons to it. But for the Kings that are a smaller, more fundamental team, a quicker team, I wouldn't call them a fast team outside of De'Aaron Fox, but I would call them a quick team, because there's a difference between being fast and quick. The zone could work very effectively, and it did. Look, they didn't have any answer in the third quarter for the Rockets last night. The Rockets absolutely killed them inside last night in the third quarter. Rockets went on a 20-6 run at one point, went to 19-4 at one point as well. And also, here was the other big thing, the points in the paint. They had 26 points in the paint at halftime. The end of the game, they had 66. They scored 40 in the second half. A lot of those came in the third quarter. In the third quarter, as I go to the score sheet, points in the paint were a second chance points 7, but points in the paint in the third quarter were 24-10 in favor of the Rockets. That was a problem. Also, offensive rebounding in that period was a problem. The Rockets got 6 offensive rebounds. I believe they only had 4 at the half. So that is what triggered the zone, in short. Malik Monk talked to the media after this one. I thought he had a couple of very good, candid answers. Here's what Malik had to say after the game.
Points or less, you were like 2-5 at the beginning of the year. Now it's completely flipped, I feel like, in the past couple of weeks. What do you think is the biggest difference?
Those games made us ready for the games now. And we just execute more, getting 2-3 more stops in. That's the game.
Malik, how impressed were you just the way, you guys, if you took a lead, they come right back, but you guys kind of held composure and were able to kind of, hold them at bay?
That's what we've been preaching. Team make a run, what we're going to do after that, our reaction to the run. So I'm satisfied with the reaction we had, because they make one, we make one, they make another one, we make another one, and get a few more stops and win the game. So, yeah, I'm happy with that.
Malik, first off, did Keegan get a thumbs down for the transition layup?
Snap your W-2 and file your taxes.
I asked him, did he remember what happened?
The behind
Be fine.
Well, I don't even remember what happened.
the behind the back and then switch the hands and one and
Yeah,
transition.
he told me I asked him, did he have it? He said no. So yeah, that's thumbs down.
More on Keegan though specifically. He's really been fighting through the slump this season. This is one of his maybe his best game of the season, especially here in this building. How have just you've seen him work himself through this and then to have the breakout performance like tonight?
Keegan's guarding the best guy almost every night. So he gonna have some down games. And that's why we
Appreciate you, Darren. Thank you for the repost, my friend. Looking at some Kings statistics for the season. Looking good. I like the pace. The pace is getting better. 12th in the NBA. The team plays best when they are playing up tempo. And again, I go back to the demonstration last night of the pick and roll between Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox. Malik Monk and Domantas Sabonis. I also want to give this guy a ton of credit for last night. He played a hell of a defensive game, especially in the fourth quarter. De'Aaron Fox, your defensive player of the game. He made some great plays defensively. He was able to really, De'Aaron's a guy that can thrive at times in his zone because he can cover so much ground very quickly. But defensively, he played an awesome game last night. So credit to him. Offensively, definitely a little bit left to be desired for De'Aaron. Look, I just, it's the question that's kind of going around town. We tried to tackle it last night on the post-game show. Is this offense to a degree passing De'Aaron by to a bit? And at times it did. Look, De'Aaron only had a couple of points through the first period. I think in the second period, he got going a little bit more at the start. In fact, he did score the first bucket in the second period. But yeah, look, you can see, and I know Dirk called in yesterday, and he said that was going to be the determining game for De'Aaron Fox in his eyes when he makes his opinion about him. Well, it's going to be more than that. I mean, it's going to be something that's evolving for me, but for Dirk, that's fine. Dirk's looking at a bunch of different things. He knows his hoops. He gets it. It was a big stage. You're coming off a loss. I go back to this with Foxy. His pay grade and the sample size that we have and the Western Conference evolving, we illustrated it actually, I thought, really well last night, especially at the top of the West. Those three teams at the top, Oklahoma City, who is an absolute freaking monster, and they're going to be a monster to come. Their guys, their core is under contract for a minute, and they own like half of the first round picks in the draft coming up in the future years. Then you look at Houston. Houston's probably here to stay. Their athleticism is impressive. They're a shooter away. There's no doubt about that. And they're going to shuffle a piece here and there. And then there's Memphis. Memphis in the same boat. They're looking for maybe another star. But outside of those three teams, you look at the rest of the teams in the West, you're seeing almost a changing of the guard. You're seeing a shuffling in the West. Denver seems to be closer to the way out than the way in. The Clippers, I would make the same argument, although they've got a lot of young guys playing for them, but they're two big guns. Older guys, Kawhi, very hard for him to stay on the court. They've been playing decent basketball as of late. The Lakers definitely on the way back with LeBron on the downside of his career, although AD is having an amazing year this season. AD has been a monster, and credit to JJ Redick for playing through Anthony Davis, something that was not happening before. Dallas, you're going to have Luka, but Kyrie's kind of on the way down. Both of them are injured frequently. Minnesota, things aren't working great there. They have a little bit of the same problem that Phoenix had last year. They don't have a distributor. Yeah, they have Conley, but he's closer to retired than being in his prime. So you've got two guys that are ISO players, and you've got to facilitate in between them. Then you got the Kings and the Suns. Who knows what's going to happen with the Suns? Matt Sheba, the owner's always looking to make a big move. That's why he acquired Durant when nobody saw it coming. Basically, what I'm saying is the time is now. If you want to move up in the Western Conference, this is your window. And it's not going to happen in just 1 year, but this team having a 7-year sample size with De'Aaron Fox and now seeing the team somewhat evolve. In fact, you can argue that you've seen this team at its best running through De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. If you want to argue that, that would be 22-23 when the Kings made the playoffs. 48 wins. You could also argue that year was an outlier, but that was the 1 year they make the playoffs in De'Aaron's 7-year tenure here. So if that's the best that team can do, with De'Aaron as the 1 and Fox as the 2, I'm thinking for me at the price point that De'Aaron commands, and also with just with the way that Sabonis and Monk are making this look flawless. That combination between them with the pick and roll, it's special. You heard Kevin Harlan and Stan Van Gundy talking about it for half of the night. You don't see that much. You can't teach it much. And I go back to this, and Alex talked about it earlier. I'm worried about size. I'm worried about athleticism with this team. The way you combat that is if you're not going to go meet the size, meet the athleticism, you beat the athleticism with fundamentals. And Domantas Sabonis is as fundamental as it gets. And Keon Ellis right up there with him. Devin Carter defensively right there too. So as I look at what side of the spectrum I think this team is closer to being better at, whether it's building around a Monk Sabonis pick and roll core with great support players, a Keegan Murray, very fundamental as well around them, versus a more flash and a ISO number 1 scorer with De'Aaron Fox and then a cast of guys around him. I'm starting to see more promise out of what's on the other side of the hill with Monk, Sabonis, and looking at this Western Conference. If you want to shake things up and you want to be bold and you want to make a big move, now's the time. And I'm not saying you look to trade De'Aaron at the trade deadline, but what I am saying is I don't know that I'm ready to sign De'Aaron up for another 4 years here in Sacramento, because it seems pretty clear that the style of basketball that the Kings are playing right now is not to his eye. It doesn't fit his game perfectly, and that doesn't mean he's not happy. Doesn't mean that he can't not still be productive. Double negative, my bad. But I think it's more of a trying to fit a square peg into a round hole going forward with another 4 years of that, as opposed to being closer to having that fundamental team that does everything the right way for the most part. Yeah, not as athletic, maybe not as big, but nobody competes harder than them. And so as this season goes on, I just think, I do in my heart of hearts, that although De'Aaron can be very special, I just don't see it. And maybe you feel differently, and that's fine. And it's no slight against De'Aaron Fox. He's an incredible player. I just don't think the way that Doug Christie is moving with this team, I think it's harder to game plan De'Aaron Fox into that rather than just rolling the ball out and playing. So that's my take on it. And I think what you could get in turn with some of these teams that are looking, especially in the East. Let's look at the East really quick. Look at how big of a mess the Eastern Conference is. Outside of the top of the East, the top 3-4 teams, most of them have negative net ratings, yet they're in the playoffs and or the play-ins. Actually, I should say not most of them. It changed last night. You have 3 that are negative in the net rating category. You're going to have some teams looking to change there too. Chicago being one of them, definitely. We know that with Zach LaVine. So I just think this is your opportunity. I think it's now or never And when I say now or never, that extends through the start of next season to be able to get a pretty damn good haul that could really fit with what this team's doing. And you build around Malik Monk. His contract is extremely friendly for the output that you're getting from Malik. And yes, there are certain things you are going to miss from De'Aaron, but remember, you have 2 years of DeMar DeRozan left. So if you're worried about those clutch baskets, how clutch was DeMar last night? It was huge. It's there. I think DeMar even I guess what I'm saying is I don't know that you can have a De'Aaron Fox, DeMar DeRozan led team with how good everybody else plays. Now, I think you can have one of those two mixed in with how good everybody plays because you need a change of pace at times. You need to be able to throw different looks at people. But at north of $40 million with De'Aaron, it's hard for me to wrap my arms around. It's really hard for me to wrap my arms around at this point. So give me your thoughts on that one as we continue to digest last night talking Kings. Let's go back to the chat, and then we've got Adam coming up in a second. We're going to keep talking movies as well. We're going to get down to this. Progressive put it. I think Jack put it. Somebody else put it as well. 32 feels like the right number. 32 feels like the right number to me. I am open to a 32 bracket or a 32 movie bracket that's mixed fiction and nonfiction. Stay the hell away from Levine. Absolutely. Jack, trading for Trae Young for Fox straight up would be pretty appealing. But I think you run into the same problem there, Jack. I think it's too ISO. It's too much ISO. Think about when the Kings played the Hawks the first time this season in Atlanta. They basically ran a box and won, and they were able to take Trae out of the game. And not saying teams are doing that against De'Aaron, but I don't know that Trae fits into the type of basketball that I think this team thrives at, where it's ball movement, it's physicality, it's picks, it's rolls, it's cutting. I don't know. Trae fits the cutting part of it. He fits the scoring part of it, but I think it's too close to an ISO guy. And I don't think you can have two ISO guys. And let me kind of give you another example of this. If you think I'm talking out of my ass, what happened last year in Phoenix between Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant? I get they weren't always on the court together at the same time. What was the thing holding them back? They didn't have a true distributor. Look at, and I get they're not that much better right now per record, but when they've been healthy, look at what the addition of Tyus Jones has done in Phoenix. It's been massive. It's balanced them out. It's that we talk about a puzzle here in Sacktown, or at least on this channel. A team is a puzzle. It's that right piece of the puzzle that connects the 2 or 3 stars for the style of basketball they want to play. I'll take it a step further. Look at the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. They're having an issue with Edwards and Julius Randle. It's because they're having the same problem. It's not all that dissimilar from De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan. So it's a very interesting thing. I think there's some precedent there for it as well. Tristan says Fox for McConnell straight up. No, that would not be a fair trade or a good trade. Haunted Horse still talking about donuts. I had 2 donuts yesterday. Did you really? I thought you were on a diet, bro. You had 2 donuts yesterday?
That's terrible.
I don't know that I'm buying that. We'll see. Ian, what's up, dude? I worry about how this roster works. Roster's a work in progress, but we lack assets. You know what? You bring up an excellent point. Excellent point, Ian. I don't know the exact situation right now with the draft picks, but I know it's not great. I think the Kings are down to like 1 or 2 second-round picks that are left right now. It's a very good point. You're low on draft picks to trade. Fox, Keegan, and Keon are our assets and all need to be on the table. Fox, best return on value. Yes, Fox would be by far your best return on value. And here's why. Fox's number is reasonable. I think De'Aaron fits in with certain teams because they want to play more of an ISO style. He's a great 1B. He's an excellent 1B. He's just not a 1A. Now, is that going to be an issue for him to deal with personally? Is he going to be okay taking a step back? Grant said it last night. He thinks that De'Aaron wants to be the man, has always wanted to be the man. But at his number, it's fair. Now, his next contract, that's a different story. That's going to be between him and the Kings and him and whoever ends up with him. But at $40 million for another team, yes. For this team, no. Because you free up $40 million here, there's a lot you could do. There is a lot more you can do to fill in some holes, like the big man that you're talking about. And the picks. The picks are so important. We talked about that being kind of the new capital, the going capital right now in the NBA. When it comes to this new CBA, it's not so much players, it's the draft picks. John says 32 is perfect. All right, very good. Hallie or Fox? I don't know. It's a good question. I really would have to think on that. Jack, if you're asking like back in the day when the trade was made versus now, you didn't have. See, because there's no Sabonis without Hallie. Yeah, I'll think about it. It looks like Corndog checked in at some point. All right. Yeah, that was incredible. 20-point beatdown. I'm trying to figure out where this dude's at. Corndog, check in. Jeffrey, what's up, man? When we had a true point in Hallie, we traded him because people said 2 points can't play together. Yet now people are saying we need a true point guard on the team with Fox. No, Jeffrey, I'm saying you need a true point guard in lieu of Fox. That's what I'm saying, in my opinion. Let's see. Okay, Thunderstruck. We'll put that down. I'm going to be going through the chat after the show and writing these movies down, so keep them coming. What's my prediction for the upcoming road trip? Let's look at it. You've got Denver, New York. By the way, Denver is the second night of a back-to-back. That's going to be a hard one. Golden State and Denver. So you've got Denver, New York, Brooklyn, Philly, OKC, and Minnesota. OKC, I think the Kings have played OKC pretty damn well the last couple of years. Doesn't mean the record is great. I think they've played them well, though. The record's not bad. I think that's competitive, but I do think OKC takes that one. Philly, they're headed out on the road right now. Embiid, who has been dealing with a sprained foot, he now has swelling back on his knee, meaning he is not traveling on this next road trip with Philly. So who knows? If Philly doesn't have Embiid, I like the Kings' chances. Brooklyn, we saw what happened last time. Jordy has those guys playing well and playing well infrequently, I should say. It's either really good or really bad. That's going to be a big game for them. It is a game, though, that this Kings team should win. New York, that's going to be a hard one. I've got that one as a loss. Denver, I think the Kings will probably lose that. I'm thinking 500 on this road trip. Probably 500. Your wins being Brooklyn, Philly, and Minnesota. What are your guys' thoughts on the road trip? We're going to keep talking Kings here in a second. We've got more audio to go around from last night. First, let's bring in our dude, Adam. Adam Oos, what's up, brother?
Acknowledge me.
What's up, bro?
What's up,
Sorry,
bro?
my mic's so far away. I was too concentrated on the Cerro Mieda.
Oh, I know. That dude's crazy.
Dude, Penta stole the show.
He did. He also
Well,
stole time from everybody else, but they were
man,
happy with it.
I don't want to hear about that. If you got a problem with him taking up space, thanks for posting that up there. If you got a problem with Penta taking up space to throw a killer promo after his match, you're the problem, not Penta. That dude is going to be the man in the WWE.
You think so?
I think so. I
All
think he's
right.
awesome. For me, growing up, Monday Night Wars, all that sort of stuff, right? I used to like WCW a little bit more at times because I was a fan of Ray, Eddie, Juventud Guerrera. But my favorite luchador of all time was La Parca. And Penta came out wearing an outfit that was like an homage to Penta. Or I'm sorry, La Parca. And so I appreciated that. And he even kind of did some of the little moves that La Parca used to do as well. So love that. What a great match, though, between him and Chad Gable.
Chad Gable has a great match with anybody.
He does. And he's sort of this like, he's like the first stage of the gauntlet as you enter WWE. Like everyone gets over on Chad Gable besides Otis, it seems like. But yeah, man, I thought he had a killer match, a killer debut, and it was awesome.
Nice. We're going to mix some Kings in with this as well. Jack, thanks for the super chat, brother. Do I think we can get a home playoff series? I don't, Jack. I think the ceiling for this team is going to be a 6 seed. I don't think that they get a home playoff series. The way you would have to be, let's think about this really quick. You would have to probably win 75%, 80% of your remaining games. And the schedule is
they're doing
well, they are. Hold on. Let's go to this really. Let's go to the schedule really quick. And thanks again, Jack. Sorry, Adam. We're going to jump around with you because I want to talk movies with you as well. Here is the schedule. I just don't see it because when's your easy stretch? I guess mid-February, you've got a couple of gimmies, Charlotte and Utah. You only have 1 day off, though. There. What a brutal schedule. Oh, yeah, I guess not that bad. Never mind. You have that March road trip or the March homestand. I just look the way this team finishes. Check this out. This is your longest homestand of the second half of the season. You have Chicago, or you got Cleveland, Memphis, Cleveland, Chicago, Milwaukee, Boston, OKC, Portland. Milwaukee, Boston is a back-to-back. Then you hit the East Coast for another late road trip at Orlando, at Indiana, Washington, Charlotte, Cleveland, Detroit, and then you finish Denver, Clippers, Phoenix. I don't see it. Adam, you?
It'll be a test, that's for sure. But you never know. Health could play a factor into some of those games, and maybe things look a little bit different. But by the time March rolls around.
Yeah, it's a good point. The Kings have been the beneficiaries of that, and hopefully their health, I guess, stays the same, does not get worse. They've only been healthy like 1 or 2 times as a team this season.
Yeah,
so far.
And I think we've played Cleveland pretty well in the last couple years. I think it's kind of back and forth. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, the last 2 seasons, how we played against Cleveland, but I think we beat them twice out of the 2 games 2 years ago. And I think maybe we split the series last year, but
this is a different Cleveland team.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a much different Cleveland team. It took me a while to get sold on this Cleveland team. Like I kept asking Jerry, I kept asking Grant. I'm like, is this like the Hawks? from, I think it was like 10 years ago, where they won like 65 games and got bounced in the first round of the playoffs. And then I watched one of their games. Donovan Mitchell is just playing so well. And Jared Allen, a guy that they were going to get rid of or talking about getting rid of, man, they are just the perfect example of the puzzle that we keep talking about. They are so freaking balanced. They're fundamental. They're athletic. They're everything, but they're not Oklahoma City.
No, I saw something today that was like the best 5 teams in the league, and it was like Oklahoma City Thunder, Oklahoma without, you know, one of their star players, and it was like Oklahoma City's the top 4 without certain players, and then it was the Cleveland Cavaliers coming in at 5. So yeah, they're on a roll. They're tough to beat. Man.
Yeah,
and you were
really quick, Jack. I'm kind of with Ian here. If it were to happen, it is like the ceiling. It's the absolute ceiling. Like
the 6 seed,
the 4 seed. Yeah,
Oh.
they're not creeping to 3, 2, and
Mm.
definitely not 1.
I don't even see that happening.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Who knows?
You know, I would say like dream scenario were like 8 or 7, probably.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, do you want to be 8 or 7? Like for
No.
me, I think it's I think if this team continues doing what they're doing consistently, they make their free throws. The free throws, it's the most under talked about part of this team this year, because last year it is why they won 46 and were in the play-in. Last year, free throws were down, attempts were down 21+% from the playoff year. That was a massive number. And a lot of that had to do with jump shooting. A lot of that had to do with the fact that the Kings were playing from behind so much. So they were playing differently. You flash forward back to this year, free throw attempts are way closer to where they should be. In fact, they are up 13. Let's see, free throw attempts are up 4.4%. Made free throws are up 13.5%. And your percentages is up 6.5%. That continues along with a few other things. You keep the zone evolving. You bring in a John Collins. I think 6 is very attainable.
Yeah, I mean, if they stay on track with what they're doing right now, who knows?
Yeah.
And you know, what happens if they make a move that benefits us for once?
Well,
mean,
Sabonis benefited.
Yeah,
right?
I know. As soon as I said that, I started to backtrack a little bit. But you know, you think about if we were 500 this year, I think that's a better shot at us being in a play-in spot.
Yeah.
Than it has been in the last couple of years. And let's go back a couple of years when we won 48 2 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of those games were those really tight, you know, within 5-point games that we're talking about that we won.
Great
and
point.
I think they could have gone the other way had we not made a shot or not made a stop, whatever it was. So, you know, 2 years ago, not saying it was a fluke. I don't think it was a fluke, but we were on the better side of history with some of those games.
I'm closer to saying now more than ever that year was an outlier.
Outlier.
And I think, and we all got our eyes got bigger than our stomachs to a degree. It's like, oh my gosh, basketball's back. And it's not just back, it's back in a big way, right? And then we negated to look at how injured the rest of the NBA was. We negated to look at how the second half of the season after the break, the Kings didn't play a single team. And granted, the Kings had to take advantage of it. They did. They didn't play a single team without its star for like 6 or 7 games. It broke the right way. And here's the most painful thing about that, Adam, is had they got by Golden State, I think they would have beat the Lakers. I'm almost certain they would have beat the Lakers. And I'm not saying you win a championship, but I think that could have been a Western Conference Finals year. Really
Yeah,
could have been.
and I don't quote me on this. I'm not sure, but I think we swept the Lakers regular season that year.
Last year.
Last year. Okay. So, I mean, there's certain teams that we had their number, and I think they were one of those teams. Same thing with Denver. Like Denver didn't scare me last year or the year before, at least for the Kings. I thought they match up pretty well with them. I don't know how well we match up with them this year, but
better. I think better. The problem is the last meeting that you saw against them, you didn't have Keegan Murray, right? That was the issue. And you're asking DeMar DeRozan to guard Aaron Gordon. Jokic and Sabonis kind of cancel each out when they play each other. The recipe for this team is getting to 100 points first. And if they can score 115 on most nights, that should be good enough to win. As funny as it sounds, we're almost reverting back to the end of the season last year, the second half of the season, where you had a ton of injuries and you had to just grind it out. The refs let you play. The Kings actually really thrive in that environment and also gets the fans going too. I mean, as Doug Christie said, you just open your robe, say, "This is what I got. Here I am,"
well, and let's not forget, post All-Star Fox, the last couple of years, he's been lights out. As soon as that All-Star game is over with, he tends to turn it up towards the end of the year. So hopefully we can have some of that.
I agree. I don't disagree. So we are a couple of weeks away. Really quick, we'll get some. Hold on. Let's let business pick up.
Business is about to pick up here.
We're a couple weeks away from the Royal Rumble.
Yes, sir.
John Cena is back and is declared for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
I see the writing on the wall, dude. John Cena versus Gunther at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I kind of see that too, and I think it makes the most sense for him to defeat Gunther, and then maybe he holds the belt for a month or so and loses and puts someone else over. I could see that for sure. As far as the Royal Rumble goes, so far we have LA Knight, John Cena, CM Punk, Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre committed to the Royal Rumble.
I know. It's kind of going to be when the storylines. It's going to be the. Oh, hold on. Let's let Doug Christie say it. Let me cue up DC. WWE with their WrestleMania cards going to say, here we are. We're going to open our robes. This is what we got for you.
Truly appreciate when you open your coat and you say, "This is me, baby. I'm here, and this is what I'm going to do."
So that's what WWE is going to do at the Royal Rumble. They're going to say, "This is the direction we're going by eliminations." I guess really quick, this Cody stuff. Cody, I thought about it really quick, and I'm going to bounce this off you, and we're going to still talk Kings and movies in a second.
Sure.
But do you have a scenario? Where Orton screws Cody at the Rumble? Cody loses the title, and you still have the Orton-Cody feud, which would be very, very relevant, probably just as relevant without the title. Put it on Owens, which frees you up to have another one of those loaded people that you're talking about in the Royal Rumble get a main event spot.
Oh, so you're saying like Orton or KO has the belt by WrestleMania?
I'm saying at the Royal Rumble, Kevin Owens wins the ladder match, beats Cody, but Orton is the one who helps Owens basically beat him. Orton comes for Cody. So now you're off to the races with Orton and Cody for WrestleMania without the title, but you've got the title on a heel, which frees up a babyface like CM Punk, which frees up somebody along those lines. So now you kind of have, instead of 2 main events, 3 main events.
I'm not going to say there's no chance, but as Vince McMahon would say, there's no chance in hell.
You think
there's no
so?
chance that Austin, or I'm sorry,
That's terrible.
there's no chance that Cody loses the belt before WrestleMania. Now, to your point, do I see a scenario where John Cena beats Gunther for his belt and one of those guys takes it off of him? Yes.
You think
Because I think that's lower hanging fruit if John Cena has it.
Yeah, but isn't it lower hanging fruit for John Cena to win his record breaking title at WrestleMania?
Well, he's got to. He's got to. Here's the thing. Ric Flair, great. He's awesome. We love him. Maybe you don't, whatever the case is. But when it's maybe not my generation, we knew who Ric Flair was, right?
Right.
But when we grew up with Ric Flair, he looked old when he was 40. He had the white hair and all that stuff. So I'm willing to accept that he's a legend and it's possible that Ric Flair could win another title. And I think that's exactly what you're dealing with John Cena right now.
Right.
And he's going to be the legend that carries he's got the most.
Right. I completely agree with you.
And he will carry that forward with this generation is like, oh, who's going to beat Cena's record? Right. So I think the WWE needs that. But no, I don't think Cody loses. There's no way.
All right.
There's no way.
What is this AEW? I'm just saying, like, they're gonna try to backdoor CM Punk into his WrestleMania moment with the title somehow, and I just don't know how they get there.
Yeah. So I mean, if Cena wins Rumble, he wouldn't get his shot at the title until Mania.
No, he can move it up. He's done that in the past. He did
Well,
that with Orton.
Okay.
Which led to a triple threat.
Maybe
I
it's
don't
a
know.
Yeah. Do we have another Saturday night main event in February? We don't know yet. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
a good point.
something that you could pull.
It's a good point. All right, so give me some movies really quick. Give me a couple movies that you feel need to be on the sports movie list.
It's number one. It's not a debate. It's not a contest. It's Caddyshack.
Okay.
And that needs to be number one. It's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Okay.
I'll go Karate Kid. Does that count?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm going to throw some weird ones at you because everyone's going to say, yeah, exactly like your background, right? Moneyball, Creed, Blindside, all that sort of stuff. So let's throw some oddballs out there. Ladybugs. I know you posted.
That's Rodney Dangerfield, right?
Hey. Yep.
Dude, Grumpier Old Men and Grumpy Old Men. Those were such good movies.
Not Rodney Dangerfield, but I'm
thinking of Walter Matthau. Damn it. And Jack Lemmon. All right,
Yeah.
my bad. All right.
You're good. Sports movies.
That's terrible.
My bad.
You're good. I'm not a huge movie guy so much anymore these days. I really loved the Von Erich movie. I'm spacing on the name of the movie right now. With Lip from.
I know who you're talking about. With Zac Efron on roids.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Give me one more for your
One more.
consideration.
Yeah, I'll go rookie of the year, man. I know you were more Angels in the outfield, but
I
they
like
had
rookie
one
of the
line.
year.
There was one line in there that sold me on rookie of the year when his arm springs forward and he hits the doctor in the nose, and the doctor goes, "Funky butt lovin'," and he goes, "Funky butt lovin'."
So wow, that was a slobber knocker award. One of my friends growing up, he got his nickname from that movie because his last name is Gardner. And you remember how the coach could never say the kid's name? He'd be like, Rollamacher or whatever. And so one of the names that he uses is Runamucker, and that became dude's nickname. So anyway, yeah, there's some funny stuff in that movie. All right, rookie of the year. Got it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going childhood movies.
I hear you. Jack, really? See, Jack, here's the problem with that one really quick. Romy, who I trust, he laid out that it's pretty bad. So I usually don't even think about picking up number 2.
Yeah.
Maybe Jack, could you put it up? I'll think about it.
I'm cool with throwing Space Jam 1 in there, but not Space Jam 2. I am not a LeBron guy. I was until he went to the Lakers. That's when LeBron, you absolutely lost me, dude.
Yeah, I've got some LeBron stories here in a little bit if we get there. Really quick. Yeah, RVD, I'll send you out on this. Johnny wants to know, RVD and AJ Styles still the best high flyers of all time. Who is better?
Who is better? Let me tell you who is better. It's a duo that I'm going to go see at TNA Genesis this Sunday. Not to mention, I'm also going to Raw in Dallas the following Monday.
That's right. We're sending you to those shows.
We are. Yes, this is paid for by Bennett's. Bennett was so generous. They bought me tickets to TNA Genesis and Monday Night Raw here in Dallas.
To pick up here.
The Hardys. Who's better than the Hardys?
Yeah. Okay. It's hard to argue with that. I would say, okay, if you're gonna go with one in the past, I'm gonna go one that's right now. Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is, I think, the best high flyer I've ever seen.
I haven't, I'm not a super AEW guy. I did check in a little bit with what is it, Damage, or what's their show called? Dynamite.
Oh, Dynamite.
I did check in a little bit with Dynamite, and I saw the Jeff Jarrett and what's his name, MJF.
Yeah,
a little segment, and that's about all I needed to see. Some 20-year-old dude picking on a 60-year-old guy. I was
the wrong segment.
I was cool off that.
But to be fair, you are going to TNA, bro. That's what
Dude.
TNA was built on.
I don't care. I'm here to see the Hardys. I'm here to see.
Is he going to be there? Is he
Dude,
going to
he's
be there?
fighting Nick Nemeth for the heavyweight title.
They're still fighting for that. Okay.
Well, and here's what's cool. So TNA and WWE just came to an agreement, a new contract between the two companies that they're gonna, slide a WWE star your way, you slide a TNA, right? And so, okay, we've got TNA here on Sunday, right in my backyard, and then we've got Monday Night Raw the next night. I book it right now. You will see a WWE star at TNA Genesis this Sunday make an appearance. And I guarantee you're going to see probably a TNA star at Monday Night Raw this week. And I think you're going to see a couple of them over at Royal Rumble as well.
Okay, I agree with you at the Rumble. You're not seeing him on Raw. You're not. You'll see him on NXT.
You're probably right.
The press release said NXT, like it highlighted NXT.
Mm.
You got these WWE wrestlers that are bent out of shape because they're not making it on Raw because of time. You think they're going to stroll out a TNA wrestler?
Well, yeah. Why
All
not?
right, fair enough.
Why not?
You know what we got to hit next week?
What's
It's
that?
Tiffy time.
Oh, it's Tiffy time, and she's fighting Bailey tonight. Book it. Tiffy's not losing the belt before WrestleMania, and I don't even think she loses the belt then.
You know who's going to debut tonight? Oh, I can't say it.
Say
I
it.
can't. No, I can't.
Oh,
I can't.
confidential stuff.
Can we keep it between us? Okay. Roxanne Perez.
Tonight? Cool.
She's going to screw Bailey. Just watch. Just watch. Here it comes.
And WWE wonders how spoilers get leaked.
Well, I do know somebody in the company, but Roxanne Perez, she's going to be there tonight. Watch it. Book it. She's from
Yeah.
Texas, too. It's in Texas, right?
That's it.
All right.
No, I think it's in San Diego tonight.
Oh, are they in San Diego? All right.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, have a great weekend. Way to come in and kill it. And appreciate you.
Oh, I'm
very
going to have a
much.
great weekend. It's
Yeah.
all wrestling this weekend.
Well, who knows, man? The last time you went to an event, you were chilling with Sami Zayn and you became an Uso. So, I mean,
Acknowledge me.
what can I say?
Hey, here's our true tribal chief, okay?
Did you notice when he won that match, they said the only tribal chief? They're playing on this O way too much.
No.
The O's a little corny. Drop the O, please. Come on. Yo, it's so corny. It's the original, the only. Cuba, Cuba, Cuba.
Oh, the OG stuff?
Yeah, come on, man. Let's
Yeah,
just
I think
drop it.
eventually they move past that.
He's just the tribal chief.
Yeah, there can only be one like Highlander.
I just what's that? Okay, we'll save it for next week. We'll save it for next week. All right. If you're getting ready for work this weekend
right now, then you're probably not.
Adam, because he's going to wrestling. So, all right, dude, be well.
You too, bro.
Love you, brother. He legit, if you guys don't know this, Adam legit was at the Big 12 championship in a suite with Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. And Jey Uso called him an Oos. He's like, you gonna get a hat, Oos? So that's how you become an Oos. So he is an official Oos. Still a few things to clean up. Thanks for, I know wrestling is not everybody's thing, but there is a lot of people here on the channel that enjoy that on Fridays. So we try to mix in a little bit of everything. I've got a lot of your movies down. What we're going to do, by the way, put this back up really quick and then we'll finish out with some Kings. What we're going to do is we're going to create a bracket. That bracket is going to be 32 sports movies. We'll continue debating it infrequently here on the channel. In fact, you can debate it whenever you want. You can do it in the chat. You can give me your opinion. I will keep monitoring the chat after shows so I can get everybody's 2 cents. And I will decide and I will seed those 32 movies. I will run it by the audience. We can have a debate over the seeding once I have done it. And then once March hits, we are going to vote on the matchups. Winners move on until we come down to the best sports movie of all time. So looking forward to that. You guys have named a lot of good ones that I have not thought about. I'm still thinking about some other ones. And so I would just say, if you think it might qualify, run it by us. Who knows? Maybe it will qualify. I don't know why, but Johnny's emojis work. Nobody else's does. So there you go, Johnny. The Hardys are better than Matt Hardy and Lita. Yeah, Jeff Hardy. He was a cool dude. I met Jeff Hardy a while back. Yeah, Ian, that would not be good out of context. Completely agree. Let's see. Kings need Trey Jemison at power forward next to Sabonis. I would like to see Trey Lyles next to Sabonis during some stretches. If you're working with the roster that you have right now, I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. Ian, we slept the Lakers last year too. At the time, the talking point was AD never won a game against Sabonis. That's right. And now it is flipped on its head. We are also hitting free throws in the fourth quarter. When I saw us making free throws against Houston, I was expecting some pigs to come flying through my window. Yeah, that was the big stat. 13 of 13 in the fourth quarter for the Kings. That's what won them the game, quite honestly. That in the zone defense. Definitely some stuff to still clean up with this team, and decisions are coming with the trade deadline. De'Aaron Fox, again, was your player of the game last night defensively. Let's hear from Coach Christie. We did not hear from him other than that little, whether you call it appropriate, inappropriate. I thought it was pretty funny. Here's Coach Christie in full after the game.
Just the work that he's put in to have those breakthrough moments and celebrating those moments when there's been struggle.
That's not the one I want. That's the second one. Here's the first one.
Close it out exactly the way that we drew it up. But I would say a lot of good things. The message tonight was to own it, to continue to build on the things that we've begun to establish. And that's a heck of a team over there. They're second in the Western Conference for a reason. You know that they're going to continue to fight, and they did that. There's a lot of things that we'll look at and improve upon as we move forward. But all in all, wins are hard to come by in this league. So, yeah.
Doug, just how impressed are you with the way that your team hit the foul shots when they had to, that they stepped up in the moment and actually was able to come through?
Yeah. 20 for 22, crunch time, pressure, the ability to relax and do the thing that you've done many, many times before in those moments. I was extremely impressed by them, because those are like, there's a lot of steps on this process, and one of them is that. And for them to check that box in that moment, I think it just continues to. Are there other areas that we want to improve upon? Yeah. But in that moment, missing free throws can lose you a ball game. And they stepped up and they hit them. So very, very impressed by our guys.
Clutch execution was something you guys struggled with earlier in the year, especially on the defensive end, and now you're finding success there during this run. Just where have you seen the change that's helped this group?
You know, more than anything, I would say the ability to change defenses on the fly, throwing a lot of stuff at them. I mean, we got zone, we got switching 1 through 5, we got switching 1 through 3, we got hitting, we got tilted. I mean, there's a lot of different things that I'm asking and throwing them out there. And to their credit, like sometimes it doesn't go off exactly like we want it, but the point is they are trusting each other enough that in those moments they know that they can make it happen. And I really like what I see there. And that's just going to be a constant evolution for us in those moments.
Doug, the energy, with the team is one thing. The energy.
GP, if you're still around, call back. I'll take that. Sorry, you called right before Adam. I'm just happy that the team feels like worth building up again. Yeah, you know what? It's a great point. It didn't feel like we were going to get a reset button on the season. Flores, what's up, dude? Yes, they do. I agree. Look, I think that there's this perception that this is going to be a one move thing, that this is going to be something where the Kings come in at the deadline and all of a sudden basketball is going to be even better than ever. It's going to be better than 22-23. The rest of the season is going to be a continued grind. I don't think even if you acquire a John Collins, that type of player, that it's going to take this team over the top. But I would say this next trade deadline in this summer is probably going to determine the next 5 years of Kings basketball. Let me repeat that. This deadline in this summer will determine the quality and direction of the next 5 years of Kings basketball. So it begins this trade deadline. And it's not a deadline that the Kings can stand by and be idle for like they have been in the past. And idle isn't technically a fair term to use because they've made some smaller moves the last 2 trade deadlines. But when I say smaller moves, I mean the trade exception with Brooklyn. If you didn't use it, you lose it. And you get Cass Edwards. Cass was good for what he was. He had some really good little defensive stretches. He probably helped the Kings win a game or 2. You can't argue with that. So you would have lost that. Last season, I forget exactly what the move was, but in short, it freed up the money to pay for Keon Ellis's raise, to pay for Keon Ellis becoming a full-time member of the Kings as opposed to a two-way player. But this trade deadline, it can't be like that. In fact, if it's, and there's some rumblings. I think Sean Cunningham, somebody that I respect, is on the record saying this very well could be a trade deadline where the Kings don't do much again. Also, I think that in that Ramona Shelburne article, it said that the Kings internally are very high on the talent that's still in the room. And I'm paraphrasing there. But to be a team that, for the most part, outside of the DeRozan acquisition, that has stood pat or ran it back the last 2.5 years, the fact that this team is in the playoff discussion right now, the fact that you've gone through another coach and you've got that reset button, it's not going to happen a third time. It's not. This thing is teetering between a very thin cliff. You could fall off the right side and definitely be better. You could be towards the top of the Western Conference in the next couple of years or working towards that. You could fall off the other side and be right there, starting over with Portland, be right there behind Utah. So my expectation is you will see something done. It's just, what do you see done? And I think the bigger question is the move that is made. Which direction does that move indicate that this team wants to move towards? Does it indicate the team wants to go more towards this basketball around the pick and roll and the movement and the defense? Or does it want to continue pursuing a higher offensive rating than what they had in 22-23? Personally, just the eyeball test, let's take the statistics out of it. I think the most enjoyable basketball that we've seen in Sacktown over the last 2 years, we'll take 22-23 out of it because I move every day that we get further away from 22-23. I feel more and more like that year was an outlier. And I think we overplayed our hand and we underplayed what was going on around the rest of the teams in the league that year. And with the owner, it would be very, look, there's probably not, I don't know the structure. I don't know how the communication's set up, but I would imagine that, if you want Vivek's ear, you can get Vivek's ear. And it wouldn't be hard to sell that owner because he's not, basketball isn't his thing. It's not how he made his money. Wouldn't be hard to sell that owner a pitch that says, oh, you're just a step away. You just got to run this back. We'll be patient. And you know what? 48 wins this year. Oh, if we wouldn't have been without so-and-so for a game, that would have been a win. And Had this not have happened, you could have won 54 this year. And so you see which sides that those things go to. But back to my original statement, the most enjoyable basketball, in fact, I will say the most sustainable basketball that I've seen has been over this 7-game win streak. It has been over some of those bigger games. Houston earlier this year, last night to a degree, definitely there as well. Again, there's always going to be the size conversation. There's always going to be the athleticism conversation. Both of those are very important in today's NBA, but you can combat that with certain things. I've said it a couple times on this show already. I'll say it one more time. It's fundamentals. It's something you don't see nearly enough of in the NBA. And slowly but surely, you are seeing more guys on this team that are earning their minutes and making impacts, not through flashy plays, not through anything that's going to end up on the Sports Center top 10, but through fundamentals, through doing the right thing over and over again, through playing as a unit together. So playing defense too. Let's put it that way. When defense turns into offense, you've got guys. I loved Keon a little bit ago. It was about a week and a half ago after his big game against Miami. He was asked about what's more important to him. What's he get more enjoyment out of? Hitting a game-winning shot or making a defensive play? And he just straight up said it wasn't even like it got filtered through the communication training that every athlete is given. He just blurted out. He's like, I love defense. You can't teach that. When you're a basketball player, if that's in you, and it's special. So as I see your Keons continue to rise to the top, I see other guys, Devin Carter, starting out his NBA journey and looking at what he does well so far in the NBA, which is defense, fundamentals. I really hope the Kings continue pushing towards that way rather than pushing towards the other way. And some of that might be seen in whatever acquisition they make. It might not be. But, Doug Christie, if he wins, if he gets to a 7-game series this year, my guess is this is his job. This is probably his job to lose at that point. And although I don't agree with how we got to Doug getting the job, look, it's working. It's definitely working. I thought what he said last night, he's got this team, he's got this city ready to run through a freaking wall for him right now. Ready to just run through a wall, but the back end of it, the X's and the O's, the adjustments, the stuff that why Doug was 4th on the bench on Mike Brown's staff. That's all the stuff you learn when you're 4th on the bench. You're learning from those in front of you. Can that meet the inspiration, the empowerment with the players? Can those two worlds merge? We're seeing it in a small sample size that yes, but if it can over a bigger sample size, absolutely. Let's listen to the second part of TNT last night on Inside the NBA debating the situation with the Kings. If you missed the first part, Charles Barkley making the argument, by the way, that, you got to put a lot of this on the players. Shaq taking a different argument to a degree. And then also Kenny Smith trying to play it in the middle. Here's the second part of that.
West has gotten better. Ja Moran is
They
back.
got better too. They got DeMar DeRozan.
But Ja Moran is back.
They got DeMar DeRozan. Is DeMar DeRozan a good player? Terrific player.
Terrific player.
So they should have gotten better with the addition of DeMar DeRozan, except they have regressed. And listen, I like Doug Christie. I wish him nothing but the best. But at some point, we as players, we have to take responsibility when we're not doing our job. They're the worst defensive team in the league. They've been that. Even when they were winning, they were bad offensively.
Whose fault is that?
The players.
Okay.
Just like I've been saying all the whole time, but you talk about, oh, you need a coach.
No, coaching's important. You say coaching don't matter. Coaching does matter.
It doesn't matter.
Coaching does matter.
The players have listen.
It matters. Come on, man. Stop it.
Hold on,
Listen, man.
hold on.
Quit saying coaching don't matter.
Let me make my point. The coaches are X and O guys and managers. It's the players' responsibility to go out and play defense, to go out and play whatever, go out and play hard. That's all I'm saying.
But you don't think coaching matters.
I never said coach matters. You said that because you don't.
No, you said coaches don't matter.
No, I said you're giving coaches too much credit.
I don't give coaches too much credit. I give them credit when they deserve it.
Okay, so the guys wouldn't play in defense. Who fault is that? It's the coaches.
The players.
Shaq, I do believe you were a different player. We've all played against you.
Bro,
with different
hold
coaches.
On.
With different, I'm just saying.
Hold on.
I've seen you, one of the greatest players that ever touched the ball, play differently under different coaches.
And you know who I got that from? I seen y'all when Rudy Tomovich called the play. I seen you say, no, we're not doing that. We're going to a king.
Doesn't mean we don't believe in him. Or he didn't make a difference.
Well, obviously you didn't believe him if you didn't.
I didn't believe him for one play.
It doesn't matter. My point is, which is valid, is the players guys. You said as a player, you took on thing and said, I'm not calling that. We're gonna get a ball to King. They're gonna double. He's gonna throw back to me. I'm gonna swing it to
That's human nature. Yes.
And also, like you said in the back, you said the reason when Rudy said run a play, I said, no, I'm going into a Hakeem because he's gonna barbecue chicken shack.
Oh,
that's what you.
No, but wait, time out. Let me even add it further.
That was one of my finals.
But Shaq,
I went to the final 6 times. How many times you went?
The play.
So that was their debate, classic debate. What's up, dude? Be there in a second, okay? All right, little man. That is the classic debate when these things happen. So really quick, and we're going to get ready to wrap up in a few minutes. Look, Monty McNair's seat was probably just as hot as Mike Brown's. You got to realize, though, I need to stop saying you got to realize. That's a terrible.
That's terrible.
I'm still on this path of growth and learning. That's not a good way to start a sentence. I should not be telling you what you need to realize. I think it's important for us to acknowledge that during the season, firing a coach is a sand dune to climb. It's a little bit of a hurdle. You're going to get a bump at first because of the new energy. But then what happens after that? Firing a GM during the season with a coach that may be underachieving and in a situation where the franchise is going to be facing probably, like I said, the biggest decisions that will affect the next 5 years of basketball in Sacramento, that's nearly impossible. That's Mount Everest. So if one was going to go, it was going to be Coach Brown. And I think you see that also in the fact that Mike had 2 years on his contract that was pretty fresh. The ink had just dried on that signature. You see it reflected in that decision. So Monty, definitely, that front office knows. I know that front office knows that things need to improve personnel wise. I think that it's fair to say they realize that there is blame to go around. It wasn't a one person thing. So interesting there from inside the NBA last night. I like Mike Brown. I don't like how he was fired. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 100%. I get why he was fired. I don't like how he was fired. When I came on 6 or 7 minutes after the news broke, and I had exchanged text messages with somebody that was around, not directly involved in the situation, but had knowledge of the situation. And the fact that the facts of what went down were unclear immediately turned me on to the fact that something was off. So within, I don't know, 15 minutes of starting that show, I immediately gave that take. I said, if this is how the Kings did it, and I pointed to the things that didn't make sense, I said it's awful. We could do an entire show on the effects of handling coaching and personnel the way that the Kings have done it, both in past administrations and now under this ownership, and how that affects free agents and bringing other coaches in, because it does. How it affects perception. Did you hear Stan Van Gundy last night? Well, it seems like every coach in Sacramento is a coach on the interim basis. It's funny and it's fair too. But the way they did it, yeah, it was not good. Not good whatsoever. Flores, a 3-year, $5 million contract for Doug. Might as well try a player coach. Look, Grant's talked about it. I've talked about it. Doug, again, Doug has this city. If you're just joining the show, this was Doug after the game. This city's ready to run through a wall for him. So is his team.
You know, Arco Arena had its own. There was wood and metal and concrete, and when you start bouncing all that together, it makes strange sounds. And this building is beginning to define itself. Golden One Center is part of my message to them is like, nobody comes in your house messing with your stuff. You must protect your house. And to watch the way that they continuously fight possession after possession after possession. And I know from being somebody who played in front of these people that they truly, truly appreciate when you open your coat and you say, this is me, baby. I'm here and this is what I'm going to do. So for me, like, that's like a super huge thing, is like when you come to SAC, we're getting down. And I love what the guys are bringing.
He's hitting all the right notes. The tone's right. It's the back end. Can that stay up? So far it has. And in fact, again, I give Doug a ton of praise. A ton of praise for what he's done with the zone defense. Now, his biggest task, his indirect biggest task that he's going to now have to tackle as this season goes on, is how you can get De'Aaron Fox efficiently involved in what everybody else is doing. Because to this point, since De'Aaron's been back from the fall, it's not looked right. Offensively, it's not there. So can you do it? Will it happen? But this move with Doug becoming the coach, it's not a massive surprise to a lot of people within NBA circles. I think Sam Amick talked about it. It's outside the norm to have a guy that, when the Kings interview head coaching candidates, and in fact, it's very possible, I don't know this for sure, it's very possible Vivek Ranadive wanted Mike Brown not to be the coach and Doug to be the coach when that position opened up. And maybe Monty and everybody else pushed back a little bit. I don't know that for sure. But the fact that, hey, we want this guy to be on the staff. If we hire you, we want this guy to be on the staff. Same thing through a second coach. So inevitably it was going to come. Now, can he be ready? So if the money works, whatever it is, can he handle the task? If it's low pay, high pay, whatever makes this team function. A couple more questions and we will be out of here. What result saves this front office? I still feel ownership wants to make it to the second round. The ownership wants more than the second round. There's no doubt about that. I don't know, quite frankly. Is it Sang? Hopefully I'm saying that right. I don't know what result saves the front office. Look, we're not inside the building. I think this trade deadline, though, will give you a lot of insight. I think the front office knows what they have probably done in terms of things that have been to the detriment, or I should say not things they have done, but things that they haven't done, which have ended up being towards the detriment of the team, standing pat the last couple trade deadlines. A perfect example. I point to one that a lot of people don't think about, and that was the Domantas Sabonis extension in 22-23. The summer of 22-23, there was money to be used to improve the team, and there was no indication Domas was going to be going anywhere. I know Domas's camp was asking, but they could have pushed that out a little bit further and could have made a pretty good argument as to why they were pushing it out and how it could possibly make everybody more money. But it started there. And then, I don't know that it's a result as much as a competitiveness, a belief within the players, the coaching staff. I think that's what it is, that this is going to be sustainable. And if I'm Vivek Ranadive, the things that really frustrate me the most, or would frustrate me the most, would be looking at the Los Angeles Lakers 2 seasons ago, who you were ahead of at the trade deadline. They made a couple of small moves, nothing major. And if we're going to nitpick at trade deadlines, that is probably the one that I'm not going to pick at the most, because that was 22-23. When the Kings were humming. I get why the Kings didn't make anything to adjust the core there. That makes sense. But from an ownership perspective, the Lakers were behind you. They made a couple of small moves at the deadline, and all of a sudden they're in the Western Conference Finals, and you're sitting at home. So maybe you should have learned from that. And I acknowledge you can't just go make a deal happen. If a deal's not there, then a deal's not there. But when you see the Dallas Mavericks last season, when the Kings were, they were either winning by 20 or losing by 19. That's what the stats showed you. And their net rating was fluctuating between 0.3 and 0.6. When you look at the Mavs, who were behind you, again, and they make a couple of moves, giving up at most a first-round pick, they make the NBA Finals. It's that kind of stuff. So can the Kings, hopefully this deadline, make a move that makes this situation better, whether that leads you to a 7-game series or not, or to the second round? And this De'Aaron Fox thing, it's complicated. It is complicated. Take away, does De'Aaron Fox fit? Take away, do you want to pay De'Aaron Fox? Navigating this is complicated, because he's on the record saying that he wants to be someplace that you're going to win. And with a year and a half on your contract, you're really pushing up. You're pushing right up to the edge. Usually this summer, most players of De'Aaron Fox's stature do not walk into a season without an extension the year before their deal comes up, or the year their deal comes up, I should say. So you're even pushing it close there, but navigating that and having a beat on, because ultimately you have to do what's right for the franchise. If you're getting any type of sign behind the scenes from Rich Paul or anybody else that Foxy doesn't want to be here, you got to get something for Foxy. You got to get something for him. You got to act in the franchise's best interest. Doesn't mean you screw Fox over, but the franchise's best interest comes before Fox's best interest. So that's what they have to navigate. So if they can do that gracefully and do that with an open mind, I think that's important. Now, if you take it a step further, if he does want to be here, do you want him here? That's a whole nother can of worms. But you see what I'm saying? Like, this thing could blow up in your face if you wait too long and you keep the ball too much in De'Aaron Fox's court. This is a ball where it needs to be in the Kings court. Ha ha ha. See what I did there? It's not one of those things where we're doing and we're pushing, and that's where it gets complicated, because De'Aaron Fox wants to win, right? Well, you could trade away Keegan Murray. You could trade away Malik Monk. You could trade away Devin Carter, could trade away Keon Ellis, and it might work a little bit better. Might not work enough to Fox's liking. It might not get you to that winning level that Fox wants to be at. And De'Aaron could still say, yeah, you know what? Trade me. I don't want to be here. Well, now you're later in the game at trading him, which means value is probably less because that team doesn't know if Fox is going to want to re-sign with them or not. And you've traded away pieces that you're seeing really work well together. You can't argue with these lineups, and we'll wrap up here, but you can't argue with this. Look at these numbers. Now, this does not include last game, but we have not shown these yet today. We showed them yesterday. So these are your 5-man lineups for this season. The 5-man lineup of DeRozan, Fox, Monk, Murray, and Sabonis has played 280 minutes. The 5-man lineup of DeRozan, Ellis, Monk, Murray, and Sabonis has played 101 minutes together on the season. These plus minus numbers are based off of the Kings season average. So for instance, if the Kings, and this number is updated, but as of today, the Kings are averaging 116 points, 116 and a half points per game. So this plus minus number means that's what the Kings are averaging over that span of minutes. That's over that average. So over 100 minutes, the Kings are averaging 22.4 points, more points than their season average with that 5-man lineup of DeRozan, Ellis, Monk, Murray, and Sabonis. Conversely, the DeRozan, Fox, Monk, Murray, and Sabonis lineup is averaging 1.5 points less than the season average. Same thing with made field goals. 3.5 more for DeRozan, Fox, Monk, Murray, and Sabonis. 9.3 more for DeRozan, Ellis, Monk, Murray, Sabonis. You can keep going down the line. Basically, what this is illustrating that in almost every statistical category, because some of these categories you want to be a minus if it's turnovers, etc., but almost in every single statistical category, that other lineup is better. Now, you only have 100 minutes under your belt, but still a decent sample size. Still a decent sample size, but still not nearly enough, 100 minutes. But this is just one part of it. It keeps going. I don't have the second part of the graphic available right now. I've shown it on past shows. I'll show it again on our next one. But just look at the points alone. Look at the field goals. Look at the pace the team plays at. Over 101 minutes, that combination without De'Aaron Fox in it is averaging 9.3 more field goals. Those are made field goals, not attempts. Made field goals. And notice that field goal attempts with that unit are only 8.1. Do you know what that means? That means they're being more efficient. They're taking less shots. Even though it's more than the average, they're taking less shots than the other combination, including Fox, and they're making more of them at almost 3 times a rate. So it's an incredible thing to look at. What I'm saying is you have clearly, looking at that, there is no denying that you have 4 pieces, if we take DeMar DeRozan out of it because of his age and probably this being his last big contract where he's going to be incredibly effective. You have 4 good pieces that fit very, very well together. And what I'm saying is you possibly, because Fox wants to win, might be looking at, if you're a front office or an owner, trading one of these pieces with no back end guarantee that Fox is still going to resign here. So this is how complicated and complex this all is. I mean, this is like if you've taken organic chemistry in college, this is like AP organic chemistry for basketball. I mean, this is very, very tricky, political, difficult things to navigate for the Kings. So again, no right answer. No right answer. Everybody has their opinion on what they think the Kings should do, and there are arguments both ways. There are arguments both ways. So V Diddy, just trade him, get picks or athleticism. They need to implement the Rick and roll offense. They're trying. They're trying, saying, I agree. Lakers and Dallas had shown that trade deadline moves can impact playoff performances 100%. That's why there's a trade deadline. Thank you very much. I love my life. I'm glad you love your life. Love mine as well. Appreciate the kind words. Always appreciated here on the channel. It has been a fun and full day. By the way, we didn't get to a ton of stuff. We still got our movies going. So we'll be taking those down and for consideration. ESPN Plus has come out with their 5 most likely players to be moved at the deadline. We'll push that to next week. We've got the Kings on Sunday, meaning we have full coverage right here on Sunday. Pre-game, halftime, post-game, right here on the channel. Let's get these last comments in, then we'll finish up. Donald, Monty won't pull no trade trigger unless it makes sense for the Kings. You can't trade Fox for the sake of it. No, nobody's saying that. But if that right deal, okay. So Donald, and I'll say this, like for me personally, looking at the analytics, the eyeball test, looking at the pieces that already fit together very well, which you just saw, you have 5 of them that fit very well together with a 101-minute sample size. That is a considerable sample size, by the way. It's not 280 minutes, but 100. I spoke to somebody who's been a coach, who's been a GM, that said they would still want a bigger sample size, and I understand why they would still want a bigger sample size. But at least that is a clear indication that you have 5 pieces out of a 8 to 10-man rotation that all fit together, right? If there was a trade out there, Donald, that you feel would fit very nicely with those other 5 pieces, I would not be hesitant to make that move. Like if you had a Patrick Williams and Kobe White deal and maybe some picks on the back end. Adam's texting me. I'm not sure if you can hear that ding, and I'm thinking it's my wife because she is at a very well-known sushi establishment right now, and I'm waiting. I've been hoping for the text, honey, do you want me to bring anything home? And I don't see it yet. Sweetheart, if you and Rach are watching this right now, I'd like a Fair Oaks roll in the teriyaki chicken, please, and a side of pepper fin sauce. Thank you, love. But if you have a piece that fits there, like to me, a Kobe White fits perfectly with what the Kings are doing. A Patrick Williams gets you a little more athleticism, fits in with the hustle, and you could move a Fox off there, a Fox, a Herder, or a Fox and a Lyles would likely make the money be closer to that. And you'd have to probably throw in Herder as well. So Fox, Lyles, Herder for Williams and White, and then doing some draft pick stuff. Yeah, I would be ready to do that. So yes, don't trade just to trade, but you could end up in a position where you do have to trade to get something back. If we're having this conversation at the trade deadline next year, not good. Fox might be the best player, but DeRozan, Monk, Ellis all recreate his skills in aggregate, and Ellis gives us some sorely needed 3-and-D action. Well, that's the thing. Those numbers that I showed you, that's looking outside of a normal box. Those numbers encompass a lot of the things that don't show up on a stat sheet. So anyways, great full show today, Rano. Appreciate you. Are you not entertained? I don't have that one, but good job. Good job, Flores. I've got a lot of drops. I don't have that one. What's the closest one that I got right now? First movie drop that comes up.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
I guess that works. Don't act like you're not impressed. We got this one.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Classic. Gotta love that one. And hey, honey, Fair Oaks roll.
Ma, the meatloaf.
Let's see, Makuni. No. I wish we actually are. By the way, you want to find us this weekend? We will be at Bennett's. So make sure you check them out as well. We are going to Bennett's this weekend. 3 locations in the greater Sacramento area. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. They've got their famous weekend brunch at all 3 locations this weekend. Prime rib at night as well, beginning tonight. My man Brian Bennett was at the game last night. He sent me a text. He was watching our show on the car ride home. Big thanks to him. And if you got a group that's getting together, if you've got a larger group that's going into a restaurant, they can set aside one of the private dining rooms for you. And trust me, you don't want to miss out on what's in the private dining room. They can also do it at your house, like Brian shows you here.
I don't know about you, but if you're thinking about having a holiday party or a party of any kind, and you don't ask us to make our house smoked salmon, to grill our prime New York steak, to grill long stem artichokes, to make ahi pokey. What are you talking about? You're going to have a party and you're not going to call Bennett's and take care of you? My goodness gracious. Give us a call. We can make this for Easter. We can make it for Christmas. We can make it for anybody's.
Bennett's prime cuts of seafood and steak. You can't go wrong there. bennettsrestaurants.com. Sacramento, Roseville, Rockland. Go check them out. Give Brian a call. Love them very, very much. And thank you all for supporting them as well. Do me a favor. Give us a big thumbs up if you made it through this marathon of a Friday show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Also, don't forget, we've got the Audio Kings Court where you get extra audio, Kings Insider audio. After I talk to a source, after I talk to somebody around the team, like this last weekend, I was talking with Mason Jones. So I will commonly record what I call shoot-arounds or just little updates. Also, the audio from this show, if you miss it live, goes up there. Apple, Spotify, Amazon podcast. You can find it all right there. Looking forward to being back with Napes on Monday. You've got a ton of football this weekend. Enjoy that. We've got Kings on Sunday. Pay attention to my X if I get any updates on Keon or anything relevant. We will pass that along. Yes, Bennett's is freaking delicious. Would appreciate it. Leave a comment in the chat for Ryan saying you'll bring him home some good food. Yes, honey. Fair Oaks roll.
Ma, the meatloaf.
I need it. No, I'm just kidding. Because sushi is kind of one of those touchy things, right? You got to eat it right away. You never eat it the second day. So if I'm getting it to go, then I want something sustainable. So yeah, Fair Oaks probably works. Agreed. Rhino, I don't like Fox's fit on the team, but I still want to be fair to him and his talents. Great player, just needs to be somewhere else. I look, he wants to, well,
That's terrible.
Careful. I think there's certain destinations that he would prefer to be, but that being said, the Kings, again, owe him no duty to send him where he wants. Look to what's going on with Jimmy Butler. Look what's going on with some of these other guys. By the way, Jimmy Butler returning or available to return tonight off of suspension. But it's really, it's one of those things. Again, you don't want to screw him over, but you don't want to screw any player over. As we sit here and we talked about Mike Brown, the way that happened, not the firing, how the firing happened, that was a bad look, really bad look. And I would say that's borderline screwing somebody over. They're owed a professional courtesy. They are professionals. But in terms of players, you got to do what's best for your franchise. Doesn't mean that you can't meet in the middle. So that's for Monty, Vivek, and everybody else to figure out. All right, we're out of here. You know what we didn't get to? LeBron. Did you guys hear this story about LeBron James and Maverick Carter possibly looking to why buy a team? We'll just create our own league. Sources, Maverick Carter advising $5 billion effort to start new basketball league, a global basketball league. I'm sorry, I thought the NBA was global. Weird. Also, they took meetings, whether you like it or not, in the political aspect of it. They took meetings overseas, reportedly. Bloomberg reported that they met with that a investment group might try to tap private equity in sovereign wealth funds, to raise $5 billion. It's seeking. It said in the article, really quick, give you the highlights of it, that Maverick and LeBron went overseas. Let me make sure that I say this right, because that is very important to the story. Let's see. The NBA has not faced significant. Okay. They did go overseas to meet. I don't know why I'm missing that. It's not like I don't have a 32-inch screen in front of me. Current equity fund. Let's see. Sorry, give me a second. This is live. James, want to give you the right part. Let's just read it to you. James's manager has been enlisted as an advisor by a group of investors seeking to raise $5 billion to form a formal international basketball league that would serve as a rival to the NBA. Sources told ESPN the group, which includes multiple private equity funds, is looking to form a league consisting of 6 men's teams and 6 women's teams playing around the world. Although Carter, who served as producer on more than one of James's TV and movie projects, is closely tied. That's why I'm not seeing it. Excuse me. I am in the wrong spot. That is 100% why I'm not seeing it. Okay. My bad, y'all. My bad. Let me get you to the right spot because it is important. Here we go, because this is the updated one. On Wednesday, ESPN Shams Charania confirmed Bloomberg's report that a group of individuals had enlisted Maverick Carter, LeBron James' longtime business partner, as an advisor. We know that part. The group noted that it hoped to have 6 men's and 6 women's teams and raise money from institutional investors, including sovereign wealth funds. It goes on to talk about the NBA and the structure about owning a team. In 2023, Carter and James went to Saudi Arabia to meet with Prince Badir bin Al-Badua Al Saeed, a member of the Saudi royal family and nation's minister of culture. Middle Eastern governments with massive sovereign funds have invested heavily in basketball over the past several years. And it should be noted, obviously, that this is going on with the PGA and LIV. So there you go. There you go. There you go. I wanted to get that out. The Saudi part. LeBronda. That's funny. Well done. All right, we're out of here. Have a great weekend. Hoop it up worldwide. Dude, I miss Hoop It Up. I miss it so damn much. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much. Appreciate every single one of you. This has been a fun show. By the way, if you're just joining now, go back and watch it. I think there has been a lot of great Kings conversation, kind of breaking things down to a little bit more of a fundamental level because we have the real estate to be able to do it here. I'm not confined by SEC outs and having FCC outs where I have to get out at certain times and get reads in. So appreciate each and every one of you. We will be back on Sunday for the Kings and the Wizards. 6:15. Thank you, Ian. Appreciate it. 6:15, 6 o'clock tip off, 5:15 pregame show. So make sure you're here. Jerry will be with us at the half. Grant and I wrap it up with the post game. Enjoy football this weekend. Stay tuned for any updates on the Kings. Also, again, go check out the audio version of the show. I'll be putting up an audio exclusive podcast tomorrow. So check that out as well. Go Kings. Light the damn beam. Coach Christie, where you at, man? Coach Christie, can you come here real quick? Coach. What's up, Coach? How you doing, man? Can you break us down, Coach?
That's big time shit. Together on three, y'all. 1, 2, 3. Together.
Love it. Light the damn beam.
Light the beam. Light it.
Court is out. Guess what? Guess what? I just got the text. Can I bring you something? It came. Thank you for all the well wishes. But we are going to Bennett's. Go check out Bennett's. All right. Court is dismissed. Peace out.